What happens when the man you love admits he destroyed your life on purpose? Maya Carter thought she knew betrayal. She was wrong. Standing in a billionaire's penthouse, staring at a positive pregnancy test, she hears three words that shatter everything. I planned this. Adrian Park, ruthless, beautiful, terrifying, doesn't even flinch. He sabotaged her birth control, trapped her. And now? He's smiling like he just won. This is the story of a woman who became a weapon she never knew she was holding, and the monster who loved her enough to ruin her. Stay until the end. Like and comment with your city so I can see how far this story travels. The bathroom was too bright. Maya Carter stood beneath the recessed lighting of Adrian Park's penthouse, the kind of lighting that cost more than her old apartment's yearly rent, and she felt every photon like an accusation. The pregnancy test balanced on the edge of the marble sink, its two pink lines sharp and undeniable. Digital. Certain. 3 weeks pregnant, the tiny screen proclaimed with algorithmic indifference. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. She'd taken 3 tests, all positive, all impossible. No. The word circled her mind like a trapped bird. She was on birth control. She'd been meticulous, religious about it. Every morning at 7, the pill with her coffee, a rhythm as ingrained as breathing. She didn't forget. She never forgot. Maya gripped the counter, her reflection fragmenting in the beveled mirror. Dark circles shadowed her eyes. Her lips, usually quick to smile, pressed into a bloodless line. She looked like a stranger. She felt like one. The penthouse stretched behind her through the open bathroom door. Floor-to-ceiling windows framing the Manhattan skyline. Minimalist furniture that cost fortunes. Art that belonged in museums. Adrian's world. A world that had seduced her 6 months ago with its gleaming surfaces and dangerous edges, with him, all controlled power and devastating attention. Now it felt like a trap sprung shut. Maya. His voice cut through her spiral. Low, calm, textured with that faint accent he'd never quite lost despite 15 years in America. Korean syllables softened by American vowels, creating something uniquely his. She didn't turn, couldn't. Adrian Park appeared in the mirror behind her, tall and composed in black slacks and a white shirt rolled to his elbows. At 34, he carried himself with the certainty of a man who'd built an empire from nothing, though what kind of empire Maya had learned not to ask too closely. Import-export, he said. Investments. Words that meant everything and nothing. His dark eyes found the test on the counter. No surprise flickered across his features. No shock, no confusion, none of the reaction she'd expected. Just stillness. Adrian, her voice cracked. I don't understand. I've been so careful. I don't know how this... I do. 2 words. Quiet. Final. Maya's heart stopped. What? Adrian stepped closer, not touching her, giving her space she suddenly realized she needed. I know how it happened. The birth control failed? She heard the desperation in her voice, the plea for a rational explanation. Is that... Did the pharmacy... No, Maya. His reflection watched her with those 2 calm eyes. It didn't fail. The bathroom tilted. What are you saying? Adrian's jaw tightened, the only sign of tension in his otherwise controlled demeanor. Your pills. I replaced them 3 months ago. The words didn't compute. They hung in the air, foreign, impossible. Replace them with what? But she already knew. She could see it in his face, in the way he stood like a man awaiting verdict. Placebos. The floor dropped away. Maya spun to face him, her back hitting the counter. You... what? You what? I replaced your birth control with sugar pills. His voice remained maddeningly level. You've been taking them for 12 weeks. You conceived approximately 20 days ago. The precision of it, the calculation. It crashed over her in waves, rage, disbelief, a terror so complete it stopped her breath. You're lying! She shook her head violently. This is insane. You wouldn't... I would. Adrian took a step forward, and Maya flinched back. He froze. Something flickered across his face. Pain, maybe, or regret. But it vanished before she could name it. I did. And I'd do it again. Why? The scream tore from her throat. Why would you? Jesus Christ, Adrian, do you understand what you've done? Do you? You were leaving. The simplicity of it stunned her silent. Adrian's hands curled into fists at his sides, the only betrayal of emotion. 2 months ago, you started looking at apartments in Boston. You told your friend Sarah you were thinking about grad school, about leaving New York, leaving me. Maya's blood ran cold. You went through my phone, your computer, your emails, your search history. No apology colored his admission. I have people who handle these things. You spied on me. I protected what's mine. I'm not a fucking possession. Her voice bounced off marble and glass, distorting. I'm a person. You can't just... You sabotaged my body, Adrian. You violated... I couldn't lose you. The raw honesty of it stopped her mid-breath. Adrian's composure cracked just slightly, revealing something desperate underneath. I couldn't, he repeated, quieter. You think this was easy? You think I didn't exhaust every other option? He dragged a hand through his black hair, disheveling it. I tried giving you space, tried being patient, but you kept pulling away, making plans that didn't include me, and I... He cut himself off, jaw working. I couldn't let you go. So you trapped me. Maya's laugh came out broken. You impregnated me against my will. Do you hear yourself? Do you understand what that makes you? Yes. No hesitation, no shame. I understand perfectly. The admission was somehow worse than denial. Maya's legs weakened. She slid down the counter until she sat on the cold tile, pregnancy test still clutched in her trembling hand. I trusted you. I know. I loved you. You still do. Adrian crouched before her, balanced on the balls of his feet, careful not to touch. And I love you more than you can possibly comprehend. Enough to become the villain in your story. Enough to do the unforgivable. Love doesn't look like this. Tears burned her eyes. Love doesn't do this. No. His dark eyes held hers, unflinching. But obsession does. And I've been obsessed with you since the moment you walked into my life. Maya remembered that moment, 6 months ago, at a charity gala she'd attended with her marketing firm. She'd been standing by the bar, bored in a borrowed dress, when Adrian Park had materialized beside her with a smile that promised danger and delivered. You look like you'd rather be anywhere else, he'd said. Is it that obvious? Only to someone feeling the same way. They'd talked for hours. He'd been magnetic, intelligent, darkly funny, attentive in a way that made her feel like the only person in a room of hundreds. When he'd asked for her number, she'd given it without hesitation. The first date became a second. The second became a month. The month became her moving into this penthouse, into his life, into a passion so consuming she'd ignored every warning sign. And there had been warnings. The way he always knew where she was, the casual mentions of things she'd never told him, the security detail she'd dismissed as paranoia from a wealthy man, the friends who'd slowly, mysteriously drifted away or relocated. She'd chalked it up to his protective nature, his resources, his world being different from hers. She'd been such a fool. What happens now? Maya's voice came out hollow. You got what you wanted. I'm pregnant. I can't just leave with your child. Something dark flashed through Adrian's expression. That's not why I did this. Really? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like a pretty effective way to keep me from running. The baby is a consequence, not the objective. He shifted closer, and Maya's body tensed. I wanted you, Maya. The pregnancy just ensures you'll stay long enough to understand that leaving me was never an option you could safely take. Ice flooded her veins. What does that mean? Adrian's face became unreadable. It means my world isn't the one you've been living in. The man you fell in love with. He exists, but he's not complete. There are parts of my life I've kept from you. Dangerous parts. Parts that would have sent you running if you'd known. Try me. He studied her for a long moment, something calculating moving behind his eyes. Then he stood, offering his hand. Maya stared at it like a snake. There's something you need to see, Adrian said quietly. Something that will make you understand why I couldn't let you go. Why walking away from me would have put you in more danger than staying ever could. I don't believe you. You don't have to. Not yet. His hand remained extended. But you need to know what you've been part of, even unknowingly. You need to understand the scope of what we're dealing with. We. As if they were a unit. As if he hadn't just confessed to reproductive coercion. But Maya found herself taking his hand anyway, letting him pull her to her feet. Not because she trusted him. Trust was ash between them now. But because she needed to understand. Needed to see the full picture of what her life had become. Adrian led her through the penthouse, past the living room with its panoramic views, past the chef's kitchen she'd learned to make breakfast in, toward his study, a room she'd never been allowed to enter. House rule, he'd said once, smiling. Everyone needs one space that's entirely theirs. She'd thought it was quirky, endearing even. Now, watching him press his thumb to a biometric scanner, she realized it was a warning she'd ignored. The door clicked open. The study was smaller than she'd expected, dominated by a massive desk and multiple monitors. But it was the wall that stole her attention, covered floor to ceiling with photographs, documents, maps connected by red string like something from a conspiracy thriller. Her face appeared in dozens of the photos. Maya's breath caught. What the fuck is this? Your life. Adrian moved to the wall, gesturing at the sprawling web of information. For the past 18 months, since before we met. 18, we've only been together 6 months. I've been watching you for a year before that. The room spun. Adrian's voice continued, clinical now, detached. April 2023. You were recruited by Mitchell and Bray Marketing to work on the Hanover account. You thought it was your skills that got you the job. It was, I bought the firm. Anonymously, through shell companies. I created the position specifically for you. He pointed to a document on the wall, a corporate acquisition agreement with dates and signatures. The Hanover account was mine. I needed someone with your specific background, marketing, psychology degree, fluent in Korean, and you were perfect. Maya's legs threatened to give out. Why? Because 18 months ago, a different organization was also watching you. Adrian pulled down a photograph, handing it to her. Do you recognize this man? The image showed a middle-aged white man in a suit, gray at the temples, unremarkable. No. David Brennan, CIA. Specifically, a division that doesn't officially exist. Adrian's jaw tightened. They've been building a case against me for 3 years. They needed someone to get close. Someone I might let in. Someone with the right background and no obvious ties to intelligence work. You think I'm... Maya's laugh came out hysterical. You think I'm a fucking spy? No. Adrian's certainty stopped her. That's what makes this so effective. You're not CIA, Maya. You're a civilian they selected and placed in my path. They've been manipulating your life, your job, your apartment location, your social circle, to increase the probability that we'd meet. And when we did, when I fell for you exactly as they predicted, they waited. He pulled down another document. Surveillance photos of Maya and Adrian at restaurants, walking through Central Park, entering his building. They've been watching us, waiting for you to gather intelligence, to give them something they can use. But you never did, because you never knew what you were supposed to be looking for. His voice softened. You were innocent. You still are. You fell in love with me genuinely, not as part of any operation. But they think I'm theirs. Maya's mind raced. They think I'm... Oh God. Working for them, yes. Adrian moved closer, his presence overwhelming in the small space. Which means you're in danger. The moment they realize you're not feeding them information, the moment they understand you're with me by choice rather than assignment, you become a liability. So this whole thing, you sabotaging my birth control, was about keeping you close enough to protect. His hand came up, hovering near her face but not touching. If you'd left, if you'd gone to Boston like you planned, you'd have been outside my sphere of influence, outside my protection. They would have approached you directly, made you an offer or a threat, and either way, I'd have been trapped. Yes. Maya's mind reeled. CIA, conspiracies, surveillance, manipulation spanning over a year. It sounded insane, but the evidence plastered the wall, meticulously documented. How do you know all this? She whispered. Adrian's smile held no warmth, Because I have people embedded in their organization just as deeply as they have people watching you. This is what I do, Maya. Information, leverage, power structures, and the spaces between them. You're a criminal. I'm an entrepreneur operating in gray areas. His correction was automatic. But yes, by conventional metrics, I've broken laws, many laws, and the CIA wants me badly enough to weaponize an innocent woman. They used me. Spectacularly. Adrian's voice held something almost like sympathy. They selected you carefully. No family, parents deceased, limited close friendships, student loans that made you vulnerable to the right financial incentives. They offered you the job, the apartment, the life that would put you in my orbit. Maya thought back to that year. The surprise job offer after months of unemployment. The miracle of finding a perfect apartment in Manhattan at below market rent. The friend from college who'd suddenly reconnected and introduced her to Sarah, who'd invited her to that charity gala. The gala where she'd met Adrian. Every step, her voice broke. My entire life was staged. Yes. And you? She whirled on him, fury breaking through shock. You knew, and you still pursued me. You still fell in love with you? Adrian's mask cracked completely. Yes. That was my mistake. I was supposed to identify you as a plant and eliminate the threat. Instead, I became obsessed. I learned everything about you, your PhD dissertation on behavioral psychology, your volunteer work at the youth center, the way you drink coffee with too much sugar and sing off key in the shower. He stepped closer, and this time Maya didn't retreat. I learned that you're brilliant and kind and stronger than you know. I learned that you were a victim, just like... He cut himself off. I learned that I couldn't let them have you, couldn't let them use you and discard you when you'd served your purpose. So I decided to keep you instead. By trapping me. Tears streaked her face. By violating my body and my choices. Yes. No excuses, no justifications. I chose the lesser evil. Let you hate me rather than watch them destroy you. That wasn't your choice to make. I know! The roar surprised them both. Adrian's control shattered completely, hands slamming onto the desk hard enough to make the monitors jump. I know it wasn't my right. I know I'm a monster, but I couldn't... His voice cracked. I couldn't watch another person I loved become collateral damage in a war they didn't know they were fighting. Another. The word hung between them, heavy with history Maya didn't know. Adrian's shoulders heaved, his back to her. When he spoke again, his voice had gone quiet, devastated. My sister, Yuna, she was 23. Maya's breath caught. She fell in love with the wrong man, someone from a rival organization. I didn't know until it was too late. His hands gripped the desk edge, knuckles white. They used her feelings, her innocence to get to me. And when she'd served her purpose, he didn't finish, didn't need to. When? Maya whispered. 4 years ago. Adrian's voice was barely audible. I found her body in a warehouse by the docks. They'd made it look like suicide, but I knew what they'd done. Horror and unwanted sympathy warred in Maya's chest. Adrian, so when I realized what they were doing to you... He turned, and the anguish in his eyes stole her breath. When I saw the pattern, the manipulation, the trap closing around another innocent woman, I couldn't let history repeat, even if it meant becoming the villain, even if it meant you'd hate me forever. I do hate you. The words came out broken. I hate what you did. I know, but I also... Maya pressed her hands to her face, overwhelmed. I don't know what I feel. This is too much. The CIA, the baby, your sister, all of it. The explosion cut her off. The windows shattered in a cascade of glass and violent sound. Maya's world became chaos. Adrian's body slamming into hers, driving her to the floor, covering her as debris rained down. Her ears rang. Smoke filled the study. Somewhere, alarms shrieked, "Stay down!" Adrian's weight pinned her, protective and suffocating. "Don't move!" Gunfire erupted, rapid, professional, coming from multiple directions. Adrian dragged them behind the desk, his body still shielding hers, reaching for something. A gun, Maya realized with crystalline shock, pulled from a hidden compartment. "What's happening?" she screamed over the chaos. "They found out." Adrian's face had transformed into something cold and lethal. "They know you're pregnant. They know I won't let you go now." "Who? Does it fucking matter?" He checked the gun with practiced efficiency. "Stay behind me. When I move, you move. Understand?" Maya nodded, unable to speak, unable to process that this was real, that people were shooting at them, that Adrian Park held a weapon like he'd been born with it, that her entire reality had dissolved in the space of an hour. More gunfire, closer now. Adrian returned fire through the shattered window, 3 precise shots that made Maya's ears ring worse. Someone screamed outside. Someone fell. "How many?" she gasped. "At least 6. Professional?" Adrian's eyes scanned the room, calculating. They breached from the building across the street, used the explosion as cover for entry. Smart. "How are you so calm?" His smile was terrifying. "This isn't my first time being shot at, Maya." He grabbed her hand, pulling her toward a section of wall that looked solid. But when Adrian pressed a specific panel, it swung inward, a hidden passage, because of course this nightmare penthouse had hidden passages. "Go!" He shoved her inside. "Follow the stairs down. They'll take you to a garage. Black Mercedes, keys in the visor. Drive to—" "I'm not leaving you." "Maya, I said I'm not fucking leaving." Something fierce and triumphant flashed through his eyes. "Then stay close and do exactly what I say." They plunged into darkness together, Adrian's hand gripping hers, pulling her downstairs she couldn't see. Behind them, the sounds of combat grew muffled. Shouts, more gunfire, something heavy hitting the floor. The stairwell opened into a corridor lined with concrete. "Service tunnel," Maya's dazed mind supplied. Adrian moved with absolute certainty, even in the dark, weapon up and ready. "Who are they?" Maya whispered. "CIA. No, this is too aggressive for government work." Adrian paused at an intersection, listening. "This is private sector. Someone hired to clean up a problem." "We're the problem." "You're the problem. I'm just the bonus." They moved again, Adrian's body tense and alert. Maya's hand stayed in his, following blindly, trusting him in this moment, even as she hated him for creating it. The garage materialized ahead, underground parking, dim lighting, rows of expensive vehicles. Adrian's Mercedes sat in a reserved spot, black and sleek and ready. "Get in," he ordered, tossing her the keys. "Driver's seat. We're leaving." Maya caught the keys, fumbling for the door handle. "Where are we?" Glass exploded behind them. 2 men emerged from the stairwell, weapons raised, dressed in tactical black. Adrian fired without hesitation. 1 shot, center mass, dropping the first man instantly. The second dove behind a concrete pillar, returning fire. Bullets sparked off metal, shattered a windshield 3 cars over. "Drive!" Adrian roared, shooting again, providing cover. Maya's hand shook so badly she could barely get the key in the ignition. The engine roared to life. Adrian yanked open the passenger door, diving inside even as more gunfire erupted. "Go, go, go!" Maya floored it. The Mercedes screamed toward the exit ramp, tires squealing. Behind them, the second gunman emerged, firing. The rear window cracked. Spiderwebbing, but not breaking. Bulletproof glass, Maya realized. The garage exit exploded into streetlight. Maya careened onto Manhattan pavement, horns blaring, nearly clipping a taxi. Adrian twisted in his seat, weapon trained on the garage entrance. "Turn left," he commanded. "Now!" Maya obeyed on autopilot, her psychology degree not having prepared her for evasive driving. The Mercedes handled like a dream, responsive and powerful under her terror-clumsy hands. "They'll have a follow car," Adrian said, scanning behind them. "Black SUV, 3 cars back. See it?" Maya checked the mirror. Sure enough, a massive Escalade wove through traffic, gaining. "What do I do?" "Drive like your life depends on it." His voice turned cold. "Because it does." The next 10 minutes became a blur of turns and acceleration, of Adrian's clipped directions and Maya's white-knuckled grip on the wheel. The SUV stayed with them, persistent, professional. "They're corralling us," Adrian muttered, pushing us toward the bridge. "Why?" "Because bridges are isolated. Easy to block both ends. Nowhere to run." He checked his gun. "We need to break the pattern. Next right, take it." Maya whipped the wheel. They plunged into a narrower street, brownstones and parked cars. The SUV followed, closing distance. There! Adrian pointed to an alley barely wide enough for the Mercedes. Now! That's insane! Do it! Maya turned hard. The Mercedes scraped between brick walls with inches to spare, mirrors folding back, paint scraping. The SUV tried to follow and wedged itself, too wide, blocking the entrance. They burst onto the next street, temporarily clear. Lincoln Tunnel, Adrian directed. We need to get out of Manhattan. And go where? Somewhere they can't follow. Somewhere I control the terrain. Maya's hands trembled on the wheel, adrenaline making her vision sharp and strange. This is insane. This whole thing is insane. Welcome to my world. Adrian's voice held dark humor. Still want to leave? The question was absurd, offensive. She was pregnant with his child, a child he'd forced on her through sabotage. She'd just been shot at by professional killers. Her entire life had been revealed as a constructed lie. But as Maya drove through the night, Adrian beside her, both of them running from threats she barely understood, one truth crystallized with terrible clarity. She couldn't leave now even if she wanted to. Not because of the baby, not because of the CIA, but because somewhere in the chaos and betrayal and violence, she'd glimpsed something that terrified her more than bullets. The part of her that didn't want to. The part that felt most alive in this moment, with danger at their backs, and Adrian's presence filling the car like dark electricity. The part that remembered why she'd fallen for him in the first place, not the lie he'd sold her, but the truth underneath. Dangerous. Possessive. Absolutely certain. And despite everything, despite the unforgivable violation, some broken piece of Maya's soul whispered that she'd rather burn in his fire than freeze in anyone else's safety. The tunnel's ahead, she said, voice steadier than it had any right to be. What then? Adrian looked at her, something unreadable moving behind his eyes. Then we disappear. Together. I haven't forgiven you. I know. I might never forgive you. I know that too. His hand found hers on the gear shift, covering it. But you'll survive. That's all that matters. Maya didn't pull away. The Lincoln Tunnel swallowed them, artificial light strobing through the car, and Maya Carter drove toward a future she couldn't see, carrying a child she never chose, with a man who'd destroyed her freedom. But she drove forward anyway, because turning back was no longer an option. And in the darkness, with her pulse still racing and Adrian's hand warm on hers, Maya made a choice that wasn't really a choice at all. She would survive this. She would figure out what it meant. And when the dust settled, she would decide for herself who the real monster was. The system that had used her, or the man who'd trapped her. But not tonight. Tonight, she just drove. The safe house materialized from the darkness, like something out of a fever dream. A sprawling estate on the New Jersey coast, hidden behind iron gates and tall hedges that whispered secrets to the wind. Maya had driven for 2 hours under Adrian's terse directions, her knuckles white on the steering wheel, the adrenaline finally beginning to ebb into something worse. Awareness. She was 3 weeks pregnant. She'd been shot at. Her entire life was a lie. And the man sitting beside her, calmly directing her through back roads and coastal highways, had orchestrated at least part of that lie. Turn here, Adrian said quietly. The gates opened automatically, recognizing the Mercedes. The driveway curved through manicured grounds. Even in the dark, Maya could see the precision of it, the wealth. The house itself was modern glass and stone, perched on a cliff overlooking the Atlantic. What is this place? Her voice came out hoarse. Somewhere they won't look. Not immediately. Adrian shifted in his seat, and Maya saw him wince. I bought it through enough shell corporations that it'll take them at least 48 hours to trace. And then? Then we move again. Maya killed the engine. The silence that followed felt suffocating. Through the windshield, waves crashed against rocks far below, violent and endless. You're bleeding. She'd noticed it miles ago, the dark stain spreading across Adrian's left side, soaking through his white shirt. Grazed, nothing serious. Let me see. Maya, let me fucking see, Adrian. She turned to face him fully, and the look on her face must have convinced him. He unbuttoned his shirt with careful movements, revealing the angry red furrow along his ribs. Not deep, but actively bleeding. Maya's medical knowledge extended to basic first aid from her volunteer work, but it was enough to recognize that he needed stitches. You need a hospital. Can't. They'll have people watching emergency rooms. Adrian pulled his ruined shirt back on. There's a medical kit inside. I'll manage. You'll pass out from blood loss. I've had worse. The casual way he said it made Maya's stomach turn. How many times have you been shot? Does it matter? Yes. The word burst out of her. Yes, it fucking matters. Everything matters now. You don't get to just drop these horror stories and act like they're normal. Adrian studied her in the dim light, something shifting in his expression. Twice. Shot twice before tonight. Stabbed once. Broken bones too many times to count. He paused. Welcome to the world you've been sleeping next to for 6 months. Maya's breath caught, because that was the thing, wasn't it? She'd been living with this man, sleeping in his bed, falling in love with him, and she'd never seen the scars, never asked the right questions, never wanted to look too closely at the edges where his perfect facade cracked. Come on. Adrian opened his door, moving stiffly. We need to get inside. They might have tracking tech on the car. The house was exactly what Maya expected. Expensive, minimalist, sterile as a hotel. Adrian moved through it with familiar efficiency, leading her to a bedroom where he pulled a large metal case from under the bed. Medical supplies. Professional grade. Sit, Maya ordered, pointing to the bed. I can do this myself. Sit down before you fall down. Something almost like a smile flickered across his face. Adrian sat, and Maya opened the case, finding everything from sutures to antibiotics to what looked like surgical equipment. Her hands shook as she pulled on latex gloves. Talk me through it, she said. What do I need to do? For the next 30 minutes, Adrian guided her through cleaning and stitching the wound with clinical precision. His voice never wavered, even when the needle pierced skin. Maya tried to match his calm, focusing on the mechanics, not the intimacy of it. Her hands on his bare skin, the heat of him, the way his muscles tensed under her touch. You're good at this, Adrian murmured as she tied off the final stitch. I'm good at following instructions. Maya stripped off the gloves, suddenly exhausted. That's different from good. Not really. He caught her wrist before she could pull away. Maya, look at me. She didn't want to see whatever was in his eyes, but she looked anyway. I'm sorry, Adrian said quietly. For all of it. For the choices I made, the autonomy I stole. You deserved better than this. Sorry doesn't fix it. I know, but it's true anyway. His thumb traced small circles on her inner wrist, and her traitorous pulse jumped. I told myself I was protecting you, that trapping you was kinder than the alternative. But the truth is simpler. What's the truth? I'm selfish. I wanted you, and I took you, and I'd burn the world down before I'd let you go. His eyes held hers, dark and intense and completely honest. So yes, I'm a monster, but I'm your monster now, whether you want me or not. Maya jerked her hand back. That's not romantic, Adrian. That's terrifying. I know. He stood, moving to the window, looking out at the black ocean. You asked me in the car if I'd do it again. The answer is yes, every time. Because the alternative, watching you walk into their trap, watching you become what my sister became, I can't. I won't. Your sister. Maya's voice softened despite herself. Tell me about her. Adrian was silent for so long she thought he wouldn't answer. Then, Yuna was everything good I wasn't. Kind, trusting. She believed in people. His reflection in the glass looked haunted. She met him at university, Taimin. He was charming, attentive, made her feel special, everything a predator does. Maya's chest tightened. I didn't know he was from the Yang family. Didn't know they'd sent him specifically to get close to her, to me, through her. By the time I figured it out, his voice cracked. She was in love with him. Really in love, and he was feeding them everything, our security protocols, business operations, weaknesses. What happened? They used her to set a trap, told her Taemin was in danger, that she needed to come alone. She did. Adrian's hands fisted against the window frame. They tortured her for information I'd never given her. When she had nothing left to tell, they killed her and staged it to look like she jumped from a bridge. Oh my God. I found her 3 days later. The police had already closed the case. His laugh was bitter. Tragic suicide, heartbroken girl, case closed. But you knew. I knew. And I spent the next year destroying every member of the Yang family who'd touched her. He turned to face Maya, and the emptiness in his eyes made her shiver. Every single one. I didn't just kill them. I erased them. Their money, their power, their legacy. By the time I was done, the Yang name was Ash. Maya should have been horrified, should have run screaming. Instead, she found herself asking, how old was she? 23, a year younger than you are now. The parallel wasn't subtle. Maya wrapped her arms around herself, suddenly cold despite the house's perfect temperature. So when you saw them doing the same thing to me, I saw Yuna, saw another innocent woman being positioned as a pawn in someone else's game. Adrian crossed to her, stopping just short of touching. And I decided that if someone had to be the villain in your story, it would be me. Better you hate me and live than love me and die. That's a false dichotomy. Is it? His hand came up, cupping her face with devastating gentleness. They were using you, Maya, whether you knew it or not. The moment you stopped being useful, the moment you became a liability instead of an asset, they would have eliminated you. That's how this world works. Your world. Our world now. His thumb brushed her cheekbone. The second you walked into that gala, the second they chose you, you became part of this whether you wanted to or not. Maya wanted to pull away, wanted to scream at him, hit him, make him hurt the way she hurt, but exhaustion won out. She sagged forward, and Adrian caught her, strong arms wrapping around her trembling body. I hate you, she whispered against his chest. I know. I hate that you did this. I know. But Her voice broke. I don't know how to leave. Then don't. His lips pressed against her hair. Stay. Fight me. Hate me. But stay alive. They stood like that for a long moment, wrapped in each other, the ocean crashing below and danger circling closer with every passing hour. Finally, Maya pulled back. I need to sleep. I can't process anymore tonight. Adrian nodded. Bedroom upstairs, second door. It's secure. I'll take first watch. Watch for what? Anyone who followed us. Anyone who wants to finish what they started. He picked up his gun from where he'd set it on the dresser, checking it with practiced ease. Sleep, Maya. Tomorrow we deal with the rest. But Maya didn't move toward the stairs. Instead, she heard herself say, The baby. You said it was a consequence, not the objective. What did you mean? Adrian's expression shuddered. Exactly what I said. I replaced your pills because I needed you dependent on me. Needed a reason you couldn't just walk away. The pregnancy... He paused. That's more permanent than I intended, but I won't apologize for it. Even though I never consented. Even though... No hesitation, no shame. I chose your life over your choice. I'd do it again. The honesty was brutal, but it was honest, and Maya found herself almost respecting him for not hiding behind pretty lies. What if I want to terminate? She watched his face carefully. Pain flashed across Adrian's features, quickly controlled. Then I'll take you to the best doctor money can buy and hold your hand through it. His voice stayed level. It's your body, Maya. I already violated that once. I won't do it again. But you'd hate it. I'd survive it. He met her eyes. What I wouldn't survive is you dying because I forced you to carry a child you didn't want. So yes, I'd hate it, but I'd support it. Your choice. Maya didn't know what she'd expected, but it wasn't that. Not the clean acknowledgement, the boundary he was setting even now. It didn't forgive what he'd done, but it was something. I don't know what I want, she admitted. About the baby, about any of this. Then don't decide tonight. You have time. Do I? Maya gestured at the window, the darkness beyond. People just tried to kill us. You said we have 48 hours before they find this place. That's not exactly a luxury of time. It's enough for sleep, for regrouping. Adrian moved toward the door. Go upstairs, Maya. Rest. I promise you'll be safe. Why should I trust your promises? You shouldn't. He paused in the doorway, looking back at her. But you will anyway. Because despite everything, despite what I did, some part of you knows I'll die before I let anyone hurt you. He was right, and Maya hated that he was right. She climbed the stairs on shaking legs, found the bedroom, more glass and expensive sheets and a view of the ocean that should have been beautiful but just felt isolating. She lay down fully clothed on top of the covers, her mind racing. Sleep seemed impossible, but exhaustion proved stronger than anxiety, and Maya drifted into uneasy dreams of pink lines and gunfire and Adrian's voice saying, "I'd do it again, I'd do it again, I'd do it again," until the words lost all meaning. She woke to sunlight and voices. Maya sat up fast, heart pounding, reaching for a weapon she didn't have. The voices drifted up from downstairs, Adrian's and someone else. Male. Unfamiliar. She crept to the door, easing it open. Tracked the Mercedes to the tunnel, but we lost them after that. The stranger's voice was American, gruff. "They'll assume you went north toward Connecticut." "Good." Adrian sounded tired. "How long before they expand the search grid?" 12 hours, maybe less. They're motivated. "Who hired them?" "Still working on it, but the timeline suggests someone moved fast once they confirmed the pregnancy." Maya's blood ran cold. They knew. Whoever had attacked them knew she was pregnant. "Brennan?" Adrian asked. "Maybe. Or someone he's working with. The CIA doesn't usually outsource wet work this clean." Maya's hand flew to her mouth, stifling a gasp. Wet work. Assassinations. This was her life now, hiding in safe houses, listening to men discuss murder over what sounded like coffee. "I need options, Marcus." Adrian's voice hardened. "She can't run forever, neither can I." "Then stop running, go on a fence." "And put her in more danger?" "She's already in maximum danger. At least if you're hunting them, you control the terrain." A pause. "Besides, you've got leverage now. They know she's pregnant. That makes her valuable. They won't kill her if they think they can turn her." "They're not getting near her." "Then you'd better be ready to disappear for real. New identities, new continent, scorched earth behind you." Marcus's voice dropped. "You ready for that? Ready to walk away from everything you built?" The silence stretched long enough that Maya found herself holding her breath. Finally, "Yes, if that's what it takes." "Even the business? The network? Everything?" "Especially that." Adrian's certainty was absolute. "I don't care about any of it without her." Marcus whistled low. "You're really gone on this girl." "Past tense, I'm already gone." Maya's chest constricted. She shouldn't feel anything hearing that. Shouldn't feel the traitorous warmth spreading through her. But she did. "She awake?" Marcus asked. "Probably. She's a light sleeper." "Want me to—" "No, I'll handle it." Footsteps approached the stairs. Maya scrambled back to the bed, trying to look like she'd just woken up naturally. Adrian appeared in the doorway seconds later, 2 mugs of coffee in hand. "You heard." "Not a question." "Most of it." Maya took the offered coffee, grateful for something to do with her hands. "Who's Marcus?" "Someone I trust." "Former military, now private security." Adrian sat on the edge of the bed, careful to maintain distance. "He's been tracking the people who attacked us." "And? Did he find anything?" "Nothing conclusive, but the operation was professional, well-funded. Someone paid a lot of money to see us dead." "Or just me?" Maya sipped the coffee. Perfect, the way she liked it. Because, of course, Adrian knew. "You said they know about the baby. That makes me valuable." "You've always been valuable." His voice was quiet. "Now you're just valuable for different reasons." "What reasons? What could they possibly want with me?" Adrian's jaw tightened. "Insurance? Leverage. If they can't get to me directly, they'll go through you. And a pregnant woman." He cut himself off. "You become a pressure point they can exploit." "So what do we do?" "We have options. Marcus can arrange new identities, get us out of the country. We could disappear, South America, Southeast Asia, somewhere they won't look." "And your business? Your life?" "Means nothing if you're dead." Adrian's eyes held hers. "I told you last night, I'll burn it all down to keep you safe." Maya set down the coffee, her hands shaking. "This is insane. A week ago, I was a marketing manager worried about campaign metrics. Now I'm... what? A mob wife on the run?" "You were never a marketing manager, Maya. That was the cover story they gave you." Adrian's voice gentled. "And you're not a mob wife. You're a woman caught between two organizations that both want to use you. So my options are run with you or die with them. Your options are whatever you make them. He stood, pacing to the window. If you want, Marcus can arrange protection. Federal custody, maybe. WITSEC if we can swing it. Without you. Without me. Maya studied his rigid posture, the tension in his shoulders. You'd let me go? After everything? I'd hate every second of it, but yes. He turned to face her. I forced you into this pregnancy. I won't force you into a life sentence of running. If you want out, I'll make it happen. And the baby? Pain flickered across his face. I'd ask for visitation, supervised, if that made you more comfortable. But I wouldn't fight you for custody, wouldn't drag you through courts or use my resources against you. His voice dropped. I've already taken enough choices from you. I won't take this one too. Maya didn't know what to say, didn't know what she felt beyond the bone-deep exhaustion and confusion. I need air, she said finally. I need to think. There's a balcony, third door down the hall. Adrian gestured. Don't go outside the property line. We have sensors, but past the fence. I know. Danger. There's always danger now. She found the balcony, stepping into cool morning air that tasted of salt and possibility. The ocean stretched endlessly before her, indifferent to her crisis. Maya leaned against the railing, her hand unconsciously moving to her still flat stomach. A baby. Adrian's baby. Created without her consent but growing inside her regardless. A life that would bind her to him forever, no matter what she chose. You look like you're contemplating jumping. Maya spun to find Marcus standing in the doorway, a broad-shouldered man in his 40s with graying hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Just thinking, she managed. About running? About everything. Maya turned back to the ocean. You're Marcus. Guilty. He moved to stand beside her, careful to maintain respectful distance. Adrian's told me about you. Nothing good, I assume. On the contrary, he hasn't shut up about you for 6 months. Marcus's voice held dry humor. Smart, funny, way too good for him. His words, not mine. Despite everything, Maya almost smiled. He sabotaged my birth control. I know, told him it was a shit idea. And he did it anyway, because when Adrian Park decides he wants something, morality becomes negotiable. Marcus pulled out a cigarette, then seemed to think better of it. But you already knew that about him. Did I? You fell for him. Not the fake version, the real one. You saw the darkness and stayed anyway. Marcus's eyes assessed her. Question is, now that you know the full extent of it, can you still stay? I don't know. Fair enough. He leaned against the railing. For what it's worth, I've known Adrian 10 years. Worked for him, protected him, cleaned up his messes, and I've never seen him like this. Never seen him willing to walk away from everything. Love makes people do crazy things. This isn't love. Love is what normal people feel. Marcus's voice turned serious. What Adrian feels for you, that's obsession, possession. It's dangerous and unhealthy and probably textbook pathological. You're not selling this well. I'm not trying to. I'm trying to give you the truth. He met her eyes. But here's the other truth. That same obsession means he'll die before he lets harm come to you. Means he'll sacrifice everything, power, money, his own life, to keep you safe. So you've got to decide, is that kind of devotion worth the cost? Maya's throat tightened. What if I can't forgive what he did? Then you can't. Forgiveness isn't mandatory. Marcus straightened. But survival is. And right now your best chance of that is with him. Whatever else he is, Adrian's good at keeping people alive. Except your sister, Maya said quietly. He told me about Yuna. Marcus's expression darkened. Yuna was different. He didn't know she was in danger until too late. With you, he paused. With you, he knows every threat before it materializes. He's not making the same mistake twice. By making different ones instead. Exactly. Marcus moved toward the door, then stopped. One more thing. The people who attacked you last night, they're not going to stop. Whether you stay with Adrian or not, you're marked now. They know you matter to him. They know you're pregnant. That makes you a target forever. The words settled over Maya like a shroud. So I'm trapped either way. Welcome to Adrian's world. Marcus's smile held no humor. Where all the choices are bad, and you just pick the one you can live with. He left her alone with that bleak assessment. Maya stood on the balcony for another hour, watching the ocean, feeling the morning sun warm her skin. Inside her, cells divided and multiplied, building a life she hadn't chosen. Around her, danger circled closer, patient and inevitable. And somewhere in the house, Adrian waited for a decision that would define everything. When Maya finally went back inside, she found him in the living room, staring at a laptop screen with furious intensity. He looked up as she entered, and the hope in his eyes nearly broke her. "I'm not forgiving you," she said without preamble. "Not now. Maybe not ever." Adrian's face remained carefully neutral. "Okay. But I'm staying, for now, until I figure out what comes next." Maya moved closer, needing him to understand. "Not because I love you, not because I trust you, but because Marcus is right. I'm safer with you than without you." "That's enough." Adrian's voice was rough. "That's more than I deserve." "It is." Maya sat across from him. "So here are my terms. You don't touch me without permission. You don't make decisions about my body or my life. And you tell me everything. No more secrets, no more protection through ignorance." "Agreed." "I mean it, Adrian, everything. How you make money, who's trying to kill us, what the end game is, all of it." "Okay." He closed the laptop, giving her his full attention. "What do you want to know first?" Maya took a breath. "Start with the truth. What do you actually do?" And for the next 3 hours, Adrian Park laid bare his entire operation. The shipping containers that moved more than legal goods, the network of politicians and businessmen on his payroll, the money laundering, the information brokering, the carefully maintained balance between legitimate enterprise and criminal empire. Maya listened, horrified and fascinated in equal measure, as the man she'd fallen for revealed himself as something far more complex and dangerous than she'd imagined. By the time he finished, the sun had reached its zenith, and Maya understood with crystalline clarity that there was no going back to the life she'd known. That life had been a fiction anyway. Adrian's world of shadows and violence and impossible choices, this was her reality now. And somehow, terrifyingly, she would have to find a way to survive it. The call came at 3 in the morning, shattering the fragile peace Maya had managed to construct over the past 5 days. She jerked awake to find Adrian already moving, phone pressed to his ear, his face illuminated by the cold glow of the screen. "When?" His voice was granite. "How many?" Maya sat up, her heart already racing. In the days since their arrival at the safe house, she'd learned to read the subtle shifts in Adrian's demeanor, the way his shoulders tensed before delivering bad news, the particular stillness that preceded violence. "Understood. 40 minutes. He ended the call, already reaching for the duffel bag he kept packed by the door, always ready, always prepared to run. "What happened?" Maya's voice came out steadier than she felt. "They found us." Marcus's contact spotted surveillance teams setting up on the access roads. Adrian moved with efficient precision, pulling weapons from hidden compartments, checking ammunition. "We have maybe 30 minutes before they move in." "I thought we had more time." "So did I." His jaw tightened. "Someone talked. Someone always talks." Maya threw off the covers, her mind already cataloging what she needed. Her bag with documents, the burner phone Adrian had given her, the pills she'd been taking for prenatal vitamins, because despite everything, despite the violation and the fury, some part of her had decided to keep this pregnancy. She hadn't told Adrian yet, hadn't admitted it to herself until the words formed in her mind. She was keeping the baby. The realization should have terrified her. Instead, it felt like the first real choice she'd made in weeks. "Where do we go?" She dressed quickly, pulling on jeans and a dark sweater. "Marcus has a boat waiting in Barnegat Bay. From there, we head south." Adrian checked his watch. "But first we need to get off this property without being seen." "The sensors will tell them exactly where we are the second we cross the perimeter, so we don't cross it." He moved to the window, scanning the darkness beyond. "We go under." Maya followed his gaze and saw nothing but manicured lawn sloping toward the cliff edge. Under what? The property was a smuggler's haven in the 1920s. Prohibition-era tunnels run from the basement to a cave system below the cliffs. Adrian shouldered the duffel bag. "I bought the place specifically because of them." Of course you did. Maya grabbed her own bag, smaller but packed with everything Marcus had insisted she might need: cash, fake IDs, a handgun she still didn't know how to use properly, despite Adrian's patient instruction over the past days. They descended to the basement in silence, their footsteps muffled on expensive carpet that gave way to bare concrete. Adrian moved unerringly to a wine rack that swung outward with a mechanical click, revealing a narrow passage carved into rock. "Stay close," he murmured, producing a flashlight. "The tunnels are stable but dark. Don't touch the walls. Some sections still have unstable supports." Maya nodded, her throat too tight for words. She followed him into the passage, and the wine rack swung shut behind them with terrible finality. The darkness pressed in, absolute and suffocating. Adrian's flashlight carved a thin path through black that seemed to swallow the light. The tunnel sloped downward, rough-hewn walls glistening with moisture. Maya's breathing echoed strangely, mixing with the distant sound of waves. The air tasted of salt and stone and age. "How far?" she whispered. "Quarter mile. The cave opens onto a small beach, accessible only at low tide." Adrian's voice remained calm, anchoring her. "Marcus will meet us there with the boat." They walked in tense silence, the tunnel twisting deeper into the earth. Maya's hand brushed the wall once, and came away damp and cold. She shuddered, thinking of the weight of rock above them, the ocean beyond. If the tunnel collapsed— "Don't," Adrian said quietly, as if reading her thoughts. "These passages have survived a century. They'll survive tonight." "You can't know that." "No, but I can believe it." He glanced back at her, his face half-shadowed in the flashlight's glow. "Belief is sometimes all we have." The words hung between them, freighted with meaning beyond the immediate moment. Maya thought of the past 5 days, the careful distance they'd maintained, the conversations that had revealed more than she'd wanted to know about Adrian's world. She'd learned about the legitimate shipping business that funded the illegitimate one, the politicians he owned, the judges on his payroll, the complex web of favors and threats that kept his empire running. She'd learned that Adrian Park was exactly what he'd claimed, a monster wearing a beautiful face. But she'd also learned that monsters could be surprisingly honest when they chose to be. "The agency made contact," Maya said suddenly, "yesterday, while you were on the phone with Marcus." Adrian stopped so abruptly she nearly collided with him. "What?" "A text. From a number I didn't recognize." Maya pulled out the burner phone, showing him the message she'd screenshotted before deleting. "They want to meet, just me. They said they can offer protection." Adrian's face went deadly still as he read the message. "When were you planning to tell me?" "I don't know. Now, I guess." Maya met his eyes. "They're not wrong, are they? You can run, but they have resources. Eventually they'll catch us." "Yes." Adrian handed back the phone, his expression unreadable. "So what do you want to do?" "I don't know." The admission felt like failure. Part of me thinks I should take the meeting, hear what they have to say. Maybe there's a way out that doesn't involve spending the rest of my life running. "There isn't." Adrian's voice was flat. "They'll promise safety, protection, a new life. And in exchange, they'll want you to testify. Give them everything I've told you, everything you've seen. Then, when I'm in prison or dead, they'll decide you know too much and make you disappear too. You don't know that. I know exactly that. It's what I'd do in their position." He started walking again, faster now. "But it's your choice, Maya. It's always been your choice, despite what I did. If you want to take the meeting, I won't stop you. You'd let me walk into what you think is a trap? I'd follow you, from a distance, and I'd be ready to pull you out if things went wrong." His shoulders tensed, "but I wouldn't stop you from making your own decision." The tunnel opened suddenly into a larger cavern, the sound of waves growing louder. Adrian's flashlight revealed rough stone walls, the glitter of water pooling in depressions, and ahead, a narrow opening where moonlight spilled across wet sand. "Wait here." Adrian moved to the cave mouth, scanning the beach beyond. Maya watched him work, noting the careful precision of his movements, the way he cleared angles and checked sightlines with military efficiency. Marcus had been right. Adrian was very good at keeping people alive. "Clear," he said finally. "But we need to move fast. The tide's already turning." They emerged onto a small crescent of beach hemmed in by cliffs on three sides. The ocean stretched dark and endless, waves breaking white against rocks. Maya breathed deeply, grateful for open air after the tunnel's confinement. A low whistle cut through the night. Marcus materialized from the shadows near the waterline, dressed in black, a rifle slung across his back. Cutting it close. They moved faster than expected, Adrian said. The boat? Anchored 50 yards out. We'll have to swim. Marcus assessed Maya. You good with that? Do I have a choice? Always. But the alternatives all suck. Marcus pulled off his jacket, revealing a wetsuit underneath. Water's about 60 degrees. Not great, but survivable. Adrian was already stripping down to similar gear. He'd planned for this, Maya realized. Had contingencies for contingencies. He produced a wetsuit from the duffel bag and handed it to her. Change fast. We don't have much time. Maya turned away, peeling off her clothes with shaking hands, pulling on the wetsuit that was slightly too large. The neoprene was cold and clammy against her skin. When she turned back, both men were ready, watching the water with focused intensity. Stay between us, Adrian instructed. If you get into trouble, don't panic. We'll get you to the boat. I'm a decent swimmer. Decent won't cut it if the current catches you. His eyes held hers. Trust me, just this once. They entered the water together, the cold stealing Maya's breath despite the wetsuit. The ocean pulled at her immediately, trying to drag her sideways. Adrian's hand found hers, steadying, and they struck out toward the dark shape of the boat. The swim felt endless. Maya's muscles burned, her lungs screaming for air she couldn't quite catch. Salt water filled her mouth when she tried to breathe. Panic clawed at her chest. Adrian's hand tightened on hers. Breathe, he said, his voice cutting through her fear. In, out, you're doing fine. She focused on his voice, on the rhythm of her strokes, on the knowledge that giving up meant drowning. The boat materialized from the darkness, a sleek cruiser, engines already running. Marcus reached it first, hauling himself aboard with practiced ease. He reached down for Maya, strong hands gripping her arms, pulling her from the water. She landed on the deck in a graceless heap, coughing up seawater, shivering violently. Adrian came aboard last, already moving to the helm. Cut the anchor line. We're not waiting. The boat surged forward, engines roaring to life. Maya collapsed against the railing, her body shaking with cold and adrenaline. Through the spray, she could see the cliffs receding, the safe house perched above like a monument to temporary safety. How long until they realize we're gone? She gasped. They probably already know. Marcus handed her a towel, a blanket. But they'll need boats to follow, and by then we'll be lost in coastal traffic. Where are we going? South, Adrian said from the helm, his face illuminated by instrument lights. Chesapeake Bay, then further. I have people in Charleston who can hide us. And after Charleston? We keep moving until we find somewhere they can't follow. His hands were steady on the wheel, guiding them through dark water. Or until we make them stop following. Maya wrapped the blanket tighter, trying to process the implications. You're talking about a war. I'm talking about survival. Adrian glanced at her, something fierce burning in his eyes. They made this personal when they came after you. Now I make it expensive. Marcus settled beside Maya, checking his rifle with methodical care. There's another option, he said quietly. One Adrian doesn't want to hear. What option? You could disappear, really disappear. I have contacts who specialize in making people vanish. New identity, new life, completely off-grid. They'd never find you. Without Adrian. Without anyone from your old life, clean break. Marcus's expression was unreadable. You could have your baby somewhere safe. Raise them away from all this. The suggestion hung in the salt-thick air. Maya looked at Adrian's rigid back, at the way his shoulders tensed even though he said nothing, giving her the choice. Always the choice now, even when it cost him. No, Maya heard herself say. The word felt right, even though the reasons were still tangled and unclear. Marcus raised an eyebrow. No? I'm not running alone. Not anymore. Maya stood on shaking legs, moved to the helm where Adrian stood. You said they made it personal when they came after me. Well, they made it personal for me too. I'm tired of being a pawn, tired of being the thing people fight over. Adrian's hands tightened on the wheel. Maya, I'm staying. We're staying. She placed her hand over his, feeling the warmth of his skin through the cold. But not because I forgive you, because I'm choosing this. Choosing to fight back instead of just surviving. Something shifted in Adrian's expression. Relief and fear and desperate hope, all tangled together. You don't know what you're signing up for. Then tell me everything. Maya's voice gained strength. You want me to stay? Give me the truth, all of it. Who are we really fighting? What's the end game? How does this end? Adrian was silent for a long moment, steering them through increasingly choppy water. Finally, he spoke, his voice low and intense. The people who attacked us weren't CIA. They were contractors, yes, but hired by someone else. Someone with enough money and motivation to want both of us dead. Who? I have suspicions, but I needed proof before he cut himself off, jaw working. There's a summit happening in 3 days. Charleston. All the major players in the Eastern Corridor will be there. Legitimate businessmen, organized crime, politicians, everyone who matters in my world. Sounds dangerous. Extremely, which is why I've avoided it for years. Adrian's eyes met hers. But if I want to know who's trying to kill us, who set you up as bait, who's been pulling strings, I need to be there. I need to see who reacts when we walk in alive. Maya's blood ran cold. You want to use us as bait. I want to force their hand, make them show themselves. His voice hardened. And when they do, I'll eliminate the threat permanently. By eliminate, you mean kill them. Yes. No hesitation, no euphemism. That's the only language this world understands. Marcus spoke up from behind them. It's a solid plan. Risky as hell, but solid. Show up where they don't expect, watch who flinches, then move before they can regroup. And if they don't flinch, Maya asked, if they just shoot us on sight, then I shoot back. Adrian's smile was cold. I've survived worse odds. But I haven't. Maya pulled her hand away, wrapping the blanket tighter. I'm not trained for this. I don't know how to survive a war. Which is why you'll stay on the boat with Marcus while I attend the summit. Adrian's tone left no room for argument. I won't put you in direct danger. Because you've been so good at keeping me safe so far? The words came out sharper than intended. Adrian flinched but didn't argue. Fair point. I'm coming with you, Maya said firmly. If this is about me, if I'm the reason they're hunting us, then I deserve to see their faces, deserve to know who used me. Absolutely not. It's not your decision. The hell it isn't. You're pregnant, Maya, with my child. I won't what? Won't let me make my own choices again? Her voice rose. You don't get it, do you? I'm done being protected. I'm done being the damsel locked in the tower. If we're doing this, we're doing it together. Adrian's control cracked. You could die. I could die anyway. People are trying to kill me, Adrian. At least if I'm there, I can see it coming. Maya stepped closer, forcing him to look at her. You said you loved me enough to become the villain. Well, I'm choosing to love you enough to become something scarier. What's that? Your partner. Your equal. Not your possession or your responsibility. Your choice. She held his gaze. So what's it going to be? Do you trust me enough to let me fight beside you? The question hung between them, freighted with everything they'd been dancing around for days. Adrian studied her face, searching for something. Weakness, maybe, or certainty. Finally, he looked away, back to the dark water ahead. You'll do exactly what I say when I say it. No arguments, no hesitation. Can you promise me that? In a firefight? Yes, absolutely. Maya's voice softened. But in life? No. I'm done with unquestioning obedience. Despite everything, Adrian almost smiled. Fair enough. He reached for her hand again, and this time she let him take it. Then we do this together, but if things go wrong, they won't. If they do, he continued firmly, you run. You take Marcus, and you run, and you don't look back. Promise me. Maya wanted to argue, to insist she'd never leave him, but the look in his eyes stopped her. The same desperate fear she'd seen when he'd confessed about Yuna, the terror of losing someone he loved. I promise, she lied. The boat cut through the darkness, carrying them south toward Charleston, toward danger, toward the confrontation that would either end the threat or end them. Maya watched the coastline slip past, thinking about the woman she'd been 6 months ago. That Maya would have run, would have taken the agency's offer, disappeared into witness protection, built a safe life far from men like Adrian Park. But that Maya had been living a lie, had been someone else's pawn, moving through a scripted life without knowing the plot. This Maya, exhausted, terrified, pregnant, and furious, this Maya knew the truth, and she was done running from it. "Tell me about the summit," she said, her voice steady. "Who will be there? What should I expect?" Adrian glanced at her, something like pride flickering across his features. Then he began to talk, laying out the landscape of power and violence they were sailing toward. Maya listened, memorizing names and faces, learning the language of this new world. By the time dawn broke over the Atlantic, painting the water gold and pink, Maya Carter had made her choice. Not the choice Adrian had forced on her with sabotaged pills and pregnancy. Not the choice the agency had scripted with their manipulation. Her choice. And she would see it through to whatever end waited in Charleston. The days that followed blurred together in a haze of preparation and motion. They docked in a private marina outside Charleston where Adrian had connections. People who asked no questions and saw nothing. A car waited for them, black and anonymous, and they drove to yet another safe house. This one a converted warehouse in the industrial district. "Home sweet home," Marcus said dryly as they entered the cavernous space. It was nothing like the beach house. This was operational. Computers set up on folding tables, weapons laid out with military precision, maps covering the walls marked with locations and times. A war room. "Jesus," Maya breathed. "I've been planning this for months," Adrian admitted, moving to the computers. "Since before you and I met. I knew eventually I'd have to force a confrontation. You just accelerated the timeline." "Lucky me." He looked at her sharply, trying to assess if she was serious or sarcastic. Maya wasn't sure herself. Over the next 2 days, Adrian walked her through everything. The summit would be held at the Commodore Hotel, a historic property on the waterfront. Security would be tight, but not impassable. The attendees would include everyone from legitimate shipping magnates to outright criminals, all maintaining the fiction of a business conference. "There will be 3 people I'm watching," Adrian said, pulling up photos on the laptop. "First, Vincent Calabrese. East Coast operations, old money, old grudges. If anyone has the resources to hire contractors, it's him." The photo showed a silver-haired man in his 60s, distinguished and dangerous. Second, Dmitry Volkov, Russian interests, expanding into territory I've been holding. We've had disagreements. A younger man, cold eyes, expensive suit. Third, and most likely, David Brennan. Maya's breath caught. The CIA agent, the one Adrian claimed had been manipulating her life. Why would he be at a criminal summit? Because Brennan's not just CIA. He's a broker. He makes connections between people who shouldn't know each other exist. If anyone set you up as bait, orchestrated your entire life to trap me, it's him. Maya studied the photo. Middle-aged, unremarkable. The kind of face that disappeared in crowds. How do we prove it? We make him react. You walk in on my arm, very much pregnant and alive. We see who goes pale, who makes calls, who tries to leave early. Adrian's smile was predatory. And then we follow the thread until we find who's holding it. And if all 3 react, then this gets complicated. Marcus spoke from where he'd been cleaning weapons. But complicated we can handle. It's the scenarios we don't anticipate that kill you. The night before the summit, Maya couldn't sleep. She lay in the small bedroom Adrian had set up for her, respecting her boundaries even now, and stared at the ceiling, thinking about tomorrow, about walking into a room full of criminals and spies while carrying Adrian's child. The irony wasn't lost on her. 6 months ago, she'd been trying to build a normal life. Now, normal seemed like a foreign concept. A soft knock interrupted her thoughts. Adrian's voice came through the door, quiet. "Maya, you awake?" "Yeah." "Can I come in?" She hesitated, then said yes. Adrian entered, looking as sleepless as she felt, wearing sweatpants and a t-shirt that made him look younger, more vulnerable. "Can't sleep either?" she asked. "No." He sat on the edge of the bed, careful to maintain distance. "I keep thinking about tomorrow, about all the ways it could go wrong." Inspiring confidence. I'm serious, Maya. It's not too late to change your mind. You could stay here with Marcus. Let me handle. No. She sat up, pulling her knees to her chest. We've been through this. I know, but I needed to try one more time. He ran a hand through his hair, disheveling it. I can't lose you. You don't have me. Not really. Maya's voice was quiet. You have my proximity, my cooperation. But you don't have me, Adrian. Not after what you did. I know. The admission sounded painful. But proximity is more than I deserve. So I'll take it. They sat in silence for a moment, the weight of everything unsaid pressing down. Why did you really do it? Maya asked finally. The truth. Not the protection story, not the Yuna parallel. Why did you sabotage my birth control? Adrian was quiet for so long she thought he wouldn't answer. Then, because I knew you'd leave. And I knew I couldn't survive you leaving, so I made it impossible. He looked at her, eyes haunted. I told myself it was about keeping you safe, but the truth? I'm selfish. I wanted you bound to me in a way you couldn't escape. And a child, his voice cracked, a child would ensure you'd always be in my life, even if you hated me. I do hate you, Maya whispered, for that choice, for stealing my autonomy. I know. But I also... She stopped, struggling with the words. I also understand it. The fear, the desperation, I don't forgive it, but I understand it. That's more than I have any right to expect. Maya looked at him, really looked at him, saw the exhaustion carved into his features, the fear he tried to hide, the love he'd never quite learned to express in healthy ways. I'm keeping the baby, she said abruptly. I decided. Days ago. I didn't know how to tell you. Adrian went very still. Why? Because it's mine. Because despite how it was conceived, it's still part of me. And because, she took a breath, because maybe something good can come from something terrible. Maybe that's the only way good things ever happen. Maya. Her name sounded like a prayer. I don't... Thank you. Thank you for... Don't thank me. This isn't for you. Her voice was firm. This is my choice. Mine. You don't get to claim credit for it. Okay. He nodded, accepting. Okay. But if we survive tomorrow, if we make it through whatever's coming... Maya met his eyes. I want a real choice. About us. About what this is. Not survival, not necessity. A real choice made from freedom. What if you choose to leave? Then I leave, and you let me. She held his gaze. Can you do that? Can you love me enough to let me go if that's what I choose? The question hung between them, terrifying in its honesty. Adrian's jaw worked, emotions flickering across his face too fast to name. Finally, he nodded. Yes. If that's what you choose, if you truly choose it, I'll let you go. His voice was barely audible. It would kill me, but I'd do it. Good. Maya lay back down, suddenly exhausted. Then we have a deal. Adrian stood to leave, but Maya's voice stopped him. Adrian? Yeah? Sleep here tonight. Not like that. Just... She patted the space beside her. I don't want to be alone. He hesitated, clearly warring with himself. Then he lay down beside her, on top of the covers, careful not to touch. They lay in the darkness, listening to each other breathe, and somehow Maya finally found sleep. When dawn came, they rose together and prepared for war. The dress Marcus had procured was midnight blue, elegant and deceptively simple, cut to hide the weapon strapped to Maya's thigh and emphasize the curves that pregnancy hadn't yet changed. She stared at her reflection in the warehouse bathroom mirror, barely recognizing the woman looking back. Dark hair swept up, makeup applied with precision to highlight her eyes and hide the exhaustion, diamond earrings that were actually listening devices. You look dangerous, Adrian said from the doorway. Maya turned, and her breath caught. He'd traded his casual clothes for a charcoal suit that must have cost thousands, tailored perfectly to his frame, making him look every inch the powerful businessman he pretended to be. But it was his eyes that held her, dark and intense and filled with something that looked like fear. So do you, she managed. He crossed to her, moving slowly, giving her time to object. When she didn't, he reached up and adjusted one of her earrings. His fingers brushed her neck, and Maya shivered. "These are live," he said quietly, "all business now. Marcus will hear everything. If something goes wrong, if you say the word red, he'll extract us within 3 minutes. And if I can't say anything, then I get you out myself." Adrian's hand lingered near her face. "Maya, we can still—" "Don't!" She stepped back, needing the distance. "We're doing this. I'm ready." "Are you?" The question wasn't patronizing. It was genuine, and Maya appreciated that even now he was checking, giving her one last chance to choose differently. "No," she admitted, "but I'm doing it anyway." Something like pride flickered across Adrian's features. "Then let's go make some powerful people very uncomfortable." The drive to the Commodore Hotel took 15 minutes through Charleston's historic district. Marcus drove, eyes constantly scanning mirrors and intersections, while Adrian reviewed final details on his phone. Maya sat in silence, her hand unconsciously resting on her still flat stomach, thinking about the life growing inside her. The baby who would be born into this world of violence and deception. If they survived tonight. The hotel materialized from the evening shadows, a grand antebellum structure dripping with old Southern money and older secrets. Valets rushed forward as they pulled up to the entrance. Adrian helped Maya from the car with practiced ease, his hand settling at the small of her back in a gesture that looked possessive and protective in equal measure. "Ready?" he murmured. "No turning back now." They walked through the ornate lobby, past security that nodded respectfully at Adrian, and toward the ballroom where the summit was being held. The doors opened and Maya's senses were assaulted by the sheer wealth on display. Crystal chandeliers, champagne fountains, men in expensive suits and women dripping diamonds. The legitimate face of illegitimate power. The room went quiet as they entered. Not completely silent, but close enough. Conversations stuttered. Heads turned. Maya felt the weight of dozens of eyes assessing her, calculating, trying to understand what her presence meant. Adrian's hand tightened on her back, steadying. Together they moved into the room, and the silence broke as people remembered how to pretend. "Adrian Park," a smooth voice cut through the renewed chatter. "I heard rumors of your demise. Clearly exaggerated." Vincent Calabrese materialized from the crowd, silver-haired and shark-eyed, smiling like a predator who'd just spotted prey. His gaze flicked to Maya, lingering with calculated interest. "Vincent." Adrian's voice remained pleasant, but Maya felt the tension in his body. "You know how it is. Reports of my death have been greatly exaggerated, multiple times." "And your lovely companion?" Vincent's smile didn't reach his eyes. "I don't believe we've been introduced." "Maya Carter." She extended her hand before Adrian could intervene. "Pleasure to meet you." Vincent took her hand, his grip lasting a fraction too long. "The pleasure is entirely mine. I've heard so much about you." "Have you?" Maya's smile was razor sharp. "Funny. I've heard nothing about you." Adrian's lips twitched with suppressed amusement. Vincent's smile turned cold. "Charming," he said, releasing her hand. "Adrian, we should talk. There are matters to discuss." "Later. I'm here to enjoy the evening first." Adrian guided Maya away smoothly, and she felt rather than saw Vincent's eyes boring into their backs. "First suspect," Adrian murmured once they were out of earshot. "He recognized you. Question is, from where?" "Could just be your photos. If people know about us—" "No, that was recognition. He's seen you before." Adrian accepted 2 glasses of champagne from a passing waiter, handing one to Maya before remembering. "Sorry, I forgot. It's fine. Prop." Maya held the glass, using it to occupy her hands. "What now?" "Now we circulate. Let them look at you. Let them wonder why you're here and very much alive." His eyes scanned the room. "And we watch who makes calls." The next hour was an exercise in controlled paranoia. Adrian introduced Maya to a parade of dangerous men with respectable faces, each one assessing her with varying degrees of interest and suspicion. She smiled, made small talk, and watched their eyes for tells. Dmitry Volkov appeared near the buffet, younger than his photo suggested, with the kind of cold charisma that made Maya's skin crawl. He shook Adrian's hand with bone-crushing intensity. "Park, didn't expect to see you here." His accent was thick, deliberate. Thought you were keeping low profile. Plans change, Dmitri. You know how it is? Da. Plans change. Dmitri's gaze slid to Maya, lingering. And you bring beautiful woman. Brave or stupid? Brave, Maya said before Adrian could respond. Definitely brave. Dmitri laughed, a harsh bark of sound. I like her. She has spine. He leaned closer to Adrian. You should keep this one close. Pretty things have habit of disappearing in our world. Is that a threat? Adrian's voice dropped to dangerous levels. Observation. Dmitri smiled without warmth. But you know this already. Why else bring her here, Da? Unless you want someone to see. He walked away before Adrian could respond, melting back into the crowd. He knows something, Maya said quietly. He knows enough to be dangerous. But I don't think he's our primary threat. Adrian's eyes tracked Dmitri's movement. He's too direct. This has been subtle. Then who? There. Adrian's hand tightened on her waist. 3 o'clock, gray suit. Maya turned casually, and her heart stopped. David Brennan stood near the bar, looking exactly like his photo. Unremarkable, forgettable, dangerous. He was watching them with the kind of intensity that made Maya's instincts scream. He's CIA, she whispered. What's he doing here? Exactly what I told you, brokering, connecting, making deals that don't officially exist. Adrian guided them in Brennan's direction. Time to make him uncomfortable. They approached slowly, giving Brennan time to see them coming, to decide how to react. Maya watched his face carefully, looking for the tells Adrian had taught her. Brennan's expression barely flickered, professional, controlled. But his hand moved to his phone just briefly before he caught himself. Mr. Park. Brennan's voice was Midwest neutral, pleasant. I didn't know you'd be attending. Last-minute decision. Adrian smiled, all teeth. David Brennan, this is Maya Carter. Maya, David works in, what was it again? Government consulting? Something like that. Brennan's eyes fixed on Maya, and she felt stripped bare under his gaze. Ms. Carter, I've heard your name. Have you? Maya kept her voice steady. That's interesting. I'm nobody important. Everyone's important in the right context. Brennan sipped his drink. How are you enjoying Charleston? First time visiting? The question was innocuous. The subtext was not. Recent arrival, Maya said carefully. Beautiful city, though the welcome hasn't been as warm as I'd hoped. Something flickered in Brennan's eyes. Surprise, maybe, or reassessment. No, that's unfortunate. Charleston's usually very hospitable. Depends on who's doing the welcoming. Adrian's voice was steel wrapped in silk. Some hospitality comes with strings attached, or bullets. The temperature around them dropped 10 degrees. Brennan's pleasant expression never wavered, but Maya saw his fingers tighten on his glass. I wouldn't know about that, Brennan said smoothly. I'm just here for the networking, meeting interesting people, making connections. His gaze slid between them. Though I have to say, Mr. Park, I'm surprised to see you taking such risks, bringing Miss Carter to an event like this given recent difficulties. What difficulties? Maya asked, her voice sharp. Oh, you know. Brennan's smile was poisonous. The unfortunate incident at your penthouse, the reports of violence. These things have a way of following people. He turned to Adrian. Unless, of course, those reports were exaggerated. Sometimes people stage events for various reasons. Are you suggesting we faked being attacked? Maya's anger wasn't feigned. I'm suggesting that in our world, Ms. Carter, nothing is ever quite what it seems. Brennan set down his glass. If you'll excuse me, I see someone I need to speak with. Enjoy your evening. He walked away, already pulling out his phone. He's calling someone, Maya breathed. I know. Marcus, you getting this? Adrian spoke to the air, to the earrings broadcasting everything. Marcus's voice crackled in Maya's ear, tiny and urgent. Got it. Already tracking his call. Stand by. They waited, pretending to admire the artwork on the walls while Marcus worked his magic. Seconds felt like hours. Maya's hand found Adrian's, gripping tight. Got him! Marcus's voice was triumphant. Call went to a blocked number, but I traced the signal. It's local. Someone in this building. Who? Adrian's voice was barely audible. Working on it. Keep Brennan in sight. If he moves toward the exit, a scream cut through the elegant chatter. Maya spun toward the sound, her training, the scant days Adrian had given her, kicking in automatically. People were backing away from something, someone, near the center of the ballroom. A woman in a red dress stood frozen, staring at her champagne glass. The liquid had turned dark, oily, and floating in it, unmistakable even from a distance, was a photograph of Maya. Adrian moved fast, pulling Maya behind him, his hand already reaching for the weapon she knew he carried. But the woman in red wasn't the target. She was the messenger. "What the hell?" Maya started. The lights went out. Complete darkness descended on the ballroom. Screams erupted, genuine fear mixing with confusion. Maya felt Adrian's arm lock around her waist, pulling her close. "Stay with me," he hissed. "Don't let go." Emergency lighting kicked in, dim red floods that cast everything in blood-colored shadows. And in that eerie glow, Maya saw them, men in black tactical gear emerging from service entrances, weapons drawn. Not here to kill everyone, here for someone specific. "Move!" Adrian dragged her toward the nearest exit, but it was already blocked. More tactical team members, faces covered, professional and terrifying. They were trapped. "Marcus!" Adrian's voice was urgent. "We need extraction now." "Working on it. East Service Corridor, 2 minutes." "We don't have 2 minutes." The tactical team was advancing, moving with precision through the panicking crowd. Maya saw Vincent Calabrese being escorted out by his own security. Dmitry Volkov had produced a weapon from somewhere, covering his own exit. The legitimate guests were screaming, running, creating chaos. And through it all, David Brennan stood calm and still, watching Maya with eyes that held terrible knowledge. He set this up, Maya realized. This whole thing, the summit, getting us here, it was a trap. "I know." Adrian pulled her behind a marble column as gunfire erupted, someone's security detail engaging the tactical team. "But we're not dying here." He pulled his own weapon, returning fire with deadly precision. 2 tactical members went down. 3. But there were too many, and they kept coming. Maya's hand found the gun strapped to her thigh, the one she'd practiced with for hours in the warehouse. She pulled it free, her hand shaking but steady enough. "Maya, no! Shut up and move!" She fired past his shoulder, catching a tactical member in the leg. Her marksmanship was terrible, but the shock of her shooting was enough to make them hesitate. Adrian used the moment to haul them toward a different exit, a service door she hadn't noticed. He kicked it open, and they plunged into a narrow corridor that smelled of kitchen grease and industrial cleaner. Behind them, footsteps pounded. "This way!" Adrian pulled her left, then right, navigating the service corridors with the certainty of someone who'd studied the blueprints. Maya ran, her dress hampering her movement, her heels discarded somewhere in the chaos. They burst through a door into the kitchen, industrial stoves and hanging pots and terrified staff in white coats. Adrian didn't slow, pulling Maya through the prep area, past walk-in freezers, toward what looked like a loading dock. Marcus was there, the car running, passenger door open. "Get in!" They dove into the vehicle. Marcus floored it before the door even closed properly. Behind them, the tactical team emerged from the hotel, weapons raised, but they were already too far, already turning the corner onto Meeting Street. "What the hell happened?" Marcus demanded, weaving through traffic. "Brennan." Adrian's breathing was ragged. "He engineered the whole thing, got us in one place, then sent a team to grab Maya." "Not grab," Maya corrected, her voice shaking. "Kill. They weren't trying to take me alive." "You sure?" I saw their eyes. Through the masks. Maya's hand pressed against her stomach, protective. They were there to finish what they started at the penthouse. Marcus swore, violent and creative. Then we're past the point of gathering intelligence. This is war. Agreed. Adrian pulled out his phone, already dialing. "I'm calling in every favor, activating every asset. If Brennan wants war, he'll get it." "Adrian, wait." Maya grabbed his arm. "We still don't know who hired him. He's the broker, remember? Someone else is pulling the strings." Adrian paused, finger hovering over the call button. "You're right." He looked at Marcus. "The call Brennan made. You traced it. Where did it go?" Still working on the encryption. Give me 10 minutes with my setup, and I'll have you coordinates. They drove in tense silence, heading back to the warehouse. Maya's ears still rang from the gunfire. Her dress was torn, her feet bleeding from running barefoot through the hotel. She caught sight of herself in the rearview mirror and barely recognized the wild-eyed woman looking back. This was who she was now. Not a marketing manager, not a victim. Something harder. Something forged in fire and fear and desperate choices. The warehouse appeared ahead, dark and uninviting. Marcus parked inside, killing the engine, and they piled out. Adrian was already moving to the computers, pulling up files and maps while Marcus worked on the phone trace. Maya sank into a chair, exhaustion crashing over her. Her hand remained on her stomach, protective and possessive. The baby was still there, still safe. Everything else could burn as long as that remained true. Got it. Marcus's voice cut through her thoughts. The call went to a phone registered to a shell company, but I traced the shell company to its parent corporation, then to the actual owner. Who? Adrian demanded. Marcus pulled up a photo, and Maya's world tilted. The face on the screen was familiar, painfully familiar, someone she'd trusted, laughed with, confided in during the months before she'd met Adrian. Sarah. Her friend Sarah, who'd invited her to the charity gala, who'd been her closest confidant in New York, who'd disappeared from her life once Maya moved in with Adrian, citing work commitments and distance. No, Maya's voice broke. That's not possible. She was my friend. She was your handler. Adrian's voice was gentle but firm. Look at the employment history, Maya. She's been CIA for 6 years. Brennan's direct report. The evidence was there, undeniable. Sarah Chen, employment history with the State Department, a common CIA cover. Financial records showing payments from the same shell companies that paid Brennan. Surveillance photos of Sarah meeting with people Maya now recognized from tonight's summit. Her entire friendship had been a lie. She was there from the beginning, Maya whispered. She recommended me for the Mitchell and Bray job. She introduced me to people who became my social circle. She invited me to that gala. The realization was sickening. She made sure I'd be exactly where they needed me to be. Yes. Adrian moved to her side, crouching to meet her eyes. I'm sorry, Maya. I know she meant something to you. She meant nothing. She was never real. Maya's grief hardened into fury. Where is she now? Marcus typed rapidly. According to her credit cards, the Belmont Hotel, downtown Charleston. Checked in this morning under her real name. She's still here. Maya stood, her exhaustion forgotten. She was at the summit. She has to have been, coordinating the attack. Maya. Adrian's voice held warning. Don't. She turned to face him. Don't tell me to stay here. Don't tell me it's too dangerous. That woman spent a year pretending to be my friend while setting me up to be killed. She doesn't get to walk away from that. I wasn't going to tell you to stay. Adrian's smile was dark. I was going to suggest we pay her a visit together. The Belmont Hotel was smaller than the Commodore, boutique rather than grand, catering to tourists who wanted historic charm without historic prices. They parked 2 blocks away and approached on foot, Maya having changed into dark jeans and a jacket, her weapon once again strapped to her thigh. Marcus stayed in the car, monitoring communications and providing overwatch. Adrian and Maya moved through the lobby like guests, casual and unremarkable. The night clerk barely looked up. Sarah's room was on the 3rd floor. They took the stairs, avoiding cameras, moving in silence that felt companionable despite everything. Partners, Maya thought. However they'd started, whatever darkness bound them, they were partners now. Adrian picked the lock with tools he'd produced from somewhere. The door swung open silently, revealing a standard hotel room, queen bed, desk, bathroom, and sitting in the chair by the window, as if she'd been waiting, was Sarah Chen. She looked exactly as Maya remembered. Petite, sharp-eyed, with that quick smile that had seemed so genuine. She wasn't smiling now. Maya, Sarah's voice was carefully neutral. I wondered if you'd figure it out. You mean if I'd survive long enough to figure it out? Maya stepped into the room, Adrian a silent presence behind her. The tactical team at the summit, that was your operation. Not mine. Brennan's, I just facilitated. Sarah's gaze flicked to Adrian. Mr. Park, I'd say it's a pleasure, but we both know I'm not that good a liar. You're an excellent liar. Maya's voice was ice. You spent a year lying to me, making me trust you, making me think I had a friend. You did have a friend. Sarah stood slowly, hands visible and empty. That part wasn't a lie, Maya. I genuinely liked you, still do. Then why? The question tore from Maya's throat. Why set me up? Why put me in Adrian's path if you knew what he was? Because that was the job. Sarah's expression was pained. You were perfect. The right background, the right psychology, isolated enough to be vulnerable to cultivation. Brennan identified you years ago as a potential asset, and when we needed someone to get close to Park, you were the obvious choice. So you manufactured my entire life. The job, the apartment, our friendship, all of it was to turn me into bait. Yes. No apology, just acknowledgement. And it worked. Park fell for you exactly as predicted. We had an in, a way to gather intelligence, build a case. Everything was going according to plan. Until it wasn't, Adrian said quietly. Until she actually fell in love with me. Until I figured out what she was and fell anyway. That wasn't in your playbook. Sarah's laugh was bitter. No, that definitely wasn't. The plan was for Maya to feed us information, build a relationship we could exploit, then testify when we brought you down. Instead, she went dark, stopped responding to my messages, moved in with you, became genuinely loyal to the target. I was never the target, Maya said. I was never disloyal because I was never really working for you. I didn't know I was supposed to be a spy. No, that was the beauty of it. Sarah's voice turned cold. You were an unwitting asset, more convincing that way. But when you stopped being useful, when Park figured it out and kept you anyway, you became a liability. So Brennan ordered the hit. He ordered containment. The team at the penthouse was supposed to take you both alive, extract information, then eliminate the problem. Sarah's eyes held something like regret. The fact that you survived, that you're here now, that's impressive. Most people don't walk away from Brennan's cleanup crews. Who's really running this? Adrian demanded. Brennan's the broker. You're the handler. But someone higher up greenlit using an American civilian as an unwitting intelligence asset. Who? Sarah hesitated, and in that moment Maya saw fear flicker across her former friend's face. I can't tell you that. Can't or won't? Adrian pulled his weapon, not threatening but making a point. Because we're past the point of professional courtesy, Sarah. Someone tried to kill Maya, tried to kill my child. I want names. If I give you names, I'm dead. Sarah's voice shook slightly. You think Brennan's dangerous? He's middle management. The people above him? She cut herself off. I can't. Then you're useless. Adrian's voice was flat, final. Wait. Sarah held up her hands. I can give you something else. Something better than names. I can give you proof. Documentation. Everything Brennan's been doing, everyone he's working with, all the operations he's brokered, it's insurance, something I've been keeping in case I ever needed leverage. Where? Maya asked. Storage unit, outside the city. I can take you there. Adrian and Maya exchanged a glance. The offer could be legitimate, could also be a trap. Marcus? Adrian spoke to his comm. You hear all that? Heard it, running her financials now. She does have a storage unit registered under a fake name. Could be legit. Or could be an ambush site. Adrian studied Sarah. Why should we trust you? Because I don't want to die. Sarah's composure cracked completely. Look, I know what I did to you, Maya. I know it was unforgivable. But I was following orders. I was trying to serve my country, and now that same country wants me dead because I know too much. Tears tracked down her cheeks. Please, I can help you. I can give you everything you need to take down Brennan and everyone connected to him. Just, please don't kill me. Maya looked at the woman who'd been her closest friend, who'd laughed with her over wine, and advised her on relationships and been completely, utterly false. Every instinct screamed not to trust her. But desperate people did desperate things. And sometimes desperate people told the truth. We take her to the storage unit, Maya decided. We get the files. Then we decide what to do with her. Adrian looked like he wanted to argue, but he nodded. Fine. But Sarah, if this is a setup, if we walk into an ambush, you die first. Understood? Understood. Sarah grabbed her jacket. Thank you. Thank you for... Don't thank me. Maya's voice was cold. You don't get absolution. You get a chance to make this slightly less terrible. That's all. They left the hotel together, an unlikely trio bound by betrayal and necessity. As they walked to the car, Maya wondered if she was making a mistake. If trusting Sarah, even a little, even with verification, would be the thing that finally got them killed. But they needed answers, needed to know who'd orchestrated this nightmare. And if Sarah could provide that, if she could give them the leverage to end this war, then maybe, just maybe, some good could come from the lies after all. Marcus looked skeptical when they returned with Sarah in tow, but he kept his weapon ready and his mouth shut. They drove through Charleston's quiet streets toward the outskirts, toward industrial parks and self-storage facilities that promised security and anonymity. Sarah directed them to a mid-sized facility, punching in codes and navigating to a unit near the back. The roll-up door opened on a space filled with boxes, filing cabinets, and electronics equipment that looked expensive and highly illegal. It's all here, Sarah said, gesturing to the cabinets. Every operation Brennan's run in the past 5 years. Every deal he's brokered. Every asset he's burned. She pulled out a specific file box, including the complete file on Maya, from initial identification to present day. Maya took the box with shaking hands. Inside were surveillance photos of her from years ago. Psychological profiles, financial analyses, reports detailing her vulnerabilities, her potential value, the probability she'd be susceptible to recruitment, unwitting or otherwise. Her entire life, reduced to data points and strategic assessments. There's more. Sarah pulled up a laptop, opening encrypted files. Brennan's been working both sides, brokering deals between criminal organizations and government agencies, playing them against each other, making millions in the process. The files were damning, detailed records of bribes, assassinations, operations that violated every law and ethical standard, if even half of it was real. This could bring down half the Eastern Seaboard's power structure, Adrian said, scanning the documents with growing interest. Exactly, which is why I kept it hidden. Sarah's voice was quiet. Insurance policy in case Brennan ever decided I knew too much, which apparently he has. Maya's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. I know where you are. I know what you're looking at, and I know you won't live long enough to use it. She showed it to Adrian. His face went hard. Marcus, we've been made. How many exits from this facility? 2. Main entrance and service gate. Both are, shit, boss, we've got vehicles approaching. Multiple. Coming in fast. Time to leave? Time to leave was 5 minutes ago. Adrian was already moving, grabbing the laptop and the most crucial files. Sarah, is there another way out? The unit's back onto a drainage canal. We could... Gunfire erupted outside. The metallic sound of bullets hitting storage unit doors echoed through the facility. Go! Adrian shoved Maya toward the back of the unit. Marcus, give us cover. More gunfire, closer now. Maya ran, Sarah and Adrian flanking her, as the world once again dissolved into chaos and violence. The storage unit's back wall had a small window, high up. Adrian boosted Maya through, then Sarah, before pulling himself up with upper body strength that shouldn't have been possible. They dropped into the drainage canal, thankfully dry, and ran. Behind them, the sounds of combat continued. Marcus's rifle barking, other weapons answering. They couldn't stay to help. Could only run and hope he'd survive. They emerged 3 blocks away, stealing a car from a parking lot with the same practiced efficiency that had become routine. Adrian drove, pushing the stolen vehicle to its limits, while Maya clutched the laptop and Sarah curled in the back seat, looking small and terrified. Marcus, Adrian said into his comm. Marcus, respond. Static. Marcus? More static than, I'm good. Took a round in the vest, nothing serious. They're regrouping. How many did you bring to this party, Park? Just you. These are Brennan's people. Then he's got more resources than we thought. I count at least 20 hostiles. This isn't cleanup. This is scorched earth. Get out of there. Rendezvous point Beta. Copy that. They drove into the night, away from Charleston, away from the summit and the hotel and the storage unit full of dangerous truths. Maya opened the laptop, scanning files with growing horror. The operation against Adrian had been years in the making, But it wasn't just about taking down a criminal, it was about control. About Brennan and his superiors building a network of leverage over powerful people, legitimate and illegitimate. Maya had been one small piece in a much larger game, and now that they'd pulled back the curtain, now that they knew the truth, "They'll never stop hunting us," Maya said quietly. "Will they?" Adrian's hands tightened on the wheel. "No, not as long as we have those files, not as long as we can expose what they've done." "So what do? We use it." His voice hardened with determination. "We use it to buy our freedom. We make copies, distribute them to journalists, lawyers, politicians they don't control. We make the information too widespread to suppress. And then we disappear," Maya finished. "Really disappear. New identities, new lives. Leave all of this behind." "Yes, that." Adrian looked at her in the rearview mirror. "If that's what you want." Maya's hand found her stomach again, protective and sure. What she wanted was safety. Wanted her child to grow up somewhere violence wasn't the default. Wanted a life where running and gunfire and betrayal weren't normal. She wanted impossible things. But maybe, just maybe, they could build something close. "Okay," she said. "Okay, let's burn it all down. Let's take our lives back."
Bassam.
And in the darkness of the stolen car, fleeing into an uncertain future with a man who'd both saved and damned her, Maya Carter made her final choice. Not forgiveness, not redemption, but survival. And sometimes that was enough. The safe house Marcus had arranged was nothing like the others. No ocean views, no modern architecture, just a decrepit farmhouse 2 hours outside Savannah that smelled of dust and abandonment. But it had thick walls, multiple exits, and most importantly, it was off every grid that mattered. Maya stood at the kitchen window as dawn broke over overgrown fields, watching the sky turn from black to gray to reluctant gold. She'd been awake all night, copying files, encrypting data, preparing the ammunition they'd need to wage war against people who thought themselves untouchable. Behind her, Adrian worked at a makeshift desk, his phone pressed to his ear, speaking in rapid Korean to someone Maya didn't know, making arrangements, calling in debts, building the infrastructure for what came next. Sarah sat in the corner, hands wrapped around cold coffee, looking smaller and more broken with each passing hour. The friend who'd never been a friend. The handler who'd lost control of her asset. Now just a woman caught between two forces that wanted her dead. "It's done," Marcus announced, entering from the bedroom where he'd been working on his own laptop. "Files are distributed. 20 different journalists across 15 countries, all encrypted, all timed to release simultaneously in 48 hours unless we manually cancel." "Dead man's switch," Adrian said, ending his call. "They kill us. The truth goes public anyway." "Exactly." Marcus dropped into a chair, wincing slightly from the bruised ribs under his vest. "But that just buys us time. Brennan and his people. They'll come hard now, before the story breaks. Try to contain it while they still can." "Let them come." Adrian's voice was cold. "I'm done running." Maya turned from the window. "We can't fight them head on. They have too many resources." "We don't need to fight them. We need to make them irrelevant." Adrian pulled up files on his screen. Sarah's documentation shows Brennan's been operating independently, using agency resources for personal profit. His superiors don't know half of what he's been doing. "So we expose him to his own people," Maya said slowly, understanding. "Turn the agency against him. Not just him, everyone connected to him." Adrian's smile was predatory. "Vincent Calabrese has been laundering money for Brennan. Dmitry Volkov has been supplying weapons to operations Brennan brokered. Half the people at that summit are compromised. We give the agency everything: names, dates, transactions. We make Brennan radioactive." Sarah spoke up for the first time in hours. "That won't work. Brennan has protection, people higher up who benefit from his operations. You expose him, they'll just bury it." "Not if we give them a better option." Adrian turned to face her. "You worked with Brennan for years. You know who his enemies are inside the agency. Who'd love to see him fall?" "Margaret Reeves." Sarah's voice was barely audible. "Deputy director. She's been trying to clean house for years, but Brennan's always been too well connected. If you could give her proof..." "We give her everything. The whole network. Every dirty operation, every compromised asset, every law they've broken." Adrian's eyes gleamed. We hand her Brennan's empire on a silver platter. In exchange, she gives us immunity. Clean break, new identities, fresh start. You think she'll deal? Marcus asked skeptically. She'll deal because the alternative is watching her agency's dirty laundry go public. Adrian gestured to the encrypted files. We're offering her a controlled burn. Chance to take down the corrupt elements, rebuild with clean hands. Politicians love that narrative. Maya moved to the desk, scanning the documents with growing understanding. It was elegant, really. Use the truth as leverage. Make themselves valuable enough to protect. Turn their enemies against each other. There's still a problem, she said. Brennan won't wait for us to make contact with Reeves. He'll move first. Try to kill us before we can deal. I know. Adrian pulled up a map of Savannah, which is why we're going to meet him on our terms. Force the confrontation before he's ready. That's insane, Sarah said. He'll have a dozen men. We have... She looked around. 3 of us. 4 if Maya counts. I count, Maya said sharply. And we're not fighting fair. We're fighting smart. Over the next 12 hours, they planned with the precision of a military operation. Adrian made calls to people who owed him favors. Not criminals this time, but legitimate contacts. Lawyers, accountants, people who could verify the documents, authenticate them, present them as evidence rather than stolen intelligence. Marcus prepared their tactical approach, studying the location Adrian had chosen for the meet. An abandoned warehouse near the port, public enough to discourage an all-out assault, isolated enough for privacy. He placed weapons at strategic points, set up surveillance, created exit routes. Maya studied Brennan's file, memorizing his patterns, his psychology, understanding the man who'd orchestrated her entire life. She found herself coldly analytical. The fear and betrayal crystallized into something harder: purpose. By evening, everything was ready. Adrian sent a single message to a number Sarah provided. Brennan's private line, the one he used for operations that couldn't be traced. Warehouse 7, Port of Savannah, 10 p.m. Come alone and we talk. Bring your people and everyone dies, including you. The response came within minutes. I'll be there. He's lying, Marcus said flatly. He'll bring a team. I know. But he'll also come himself. He's arrogant enough to think he can control this. Adrian checked his weapon, the motion so practiced it looked like meditation. We just need to keep him talking long enough. Long enough for what? Sarah asked. Adrian smiled. For the rest of the plan to work. At 9:30, they left the farmhouse in 2 vehicles. Marcus and Sarah in one, Adrian and Maya in the other. The drive to Savannah was tense and silent. Maya's hand rested on her stomach, a gesture that had become reflexive. The baby was still there, still growing, oblivious to the violence surrounding its creation. Are you scared? Adrian asked quietly. Terrified, Maya admitted. But I'm also calm? Is that strange? No, it's clarity. You've made your choice. Now you're seeing it through. His hand found hers. Whatever happens tonight, I want you to know. I don't regret any of it. Not meeting you, not falling for you, not even the unforgivable things I did. Because all of it led here. To you, alive, beside me. That's a terrible apology. It's not an apology. It's a statement of fact. He squeezed her hand. I love you, Maya Carter. I love you enough to let you go if that's what you choose after tonight. But I needed to say it once. Honestly. Maya's throat tightened. I don't know if I love you back. I don't know if what I feel is love or Stockholm Syndrome or just shared trauma. That's fair. But I do know... She turned to face him. I know I want to survive this. Want to give our child a chance at a life we never had. Want to see who we could become if we weren't running. Then we make that happen. Adrian's voice was steel-wrapped in tenderness. Tonight, we end this. The warehouse district was exactly as desolate as Maya had imagined. Rusted metal buildings, broken asphalt, the smell of salt water, and industrial decay. They parked 3 blocks away, approaching on foot through shadows that seemed to pulse with danger. Marcus was already in position, his voice crackling over their comms. I count 8 hostiles, 4 on the perimeter, 4 inside with Brennan. They're trying to hide, but they're not that good. Acknowledged, Adrian murmured. Sarah? In position with the backup plan. Say the word and I execute. Maya and Adrian entered through the main door, a massive roll-up that shrieked on rusty tracks. Inside, the warehouse was a cavern of shadows and decaying machinery, and in the center, illuminated by a single work light, stood David Brennan. He looked exactly as he had at the summit, unremarkable, forgettable, except for his eyes, which held the cold calculation of a man who'd made a career of using people. Ms. Carter, Mr. Park. Brennan's voice echoed in the empty space. Thank you for making this easy. Easy? Adrian's laugh was harsh. You think this is easy? I think you're desperate. I think you've realized you can't run forever, can't hide from the resources I have access to, so you're here to negotiate. Brennan smiled. The question is, what do you think you have to negotiate with? Everything. Maya stepped forward, surprising herself with her own boldness. We have everything, Brennan. Every operation you've run, every law you've broken, every person you've used and discarded, Sarah documented it all. Something flickered in Brennan's expression. Sarah's documentation is inadmissible. Fruit of the poisonous tree. No court would. We're not going to court. Adrian pulled out a tablet, showing Brennan a list of names. We're going to Margaret Reeves, Deputy Director. Your boss's boss. The woman who's been looking for a reason to clean house for years. Brennan's composure cracked slightly. Maggie won't touch this. She's a political animal. She'll risk it because we're giving her no choice. In 36 hours, everything goes public. Every journalist we sent it to publishes simultaneously. The agency becomes a scandal that makes Watergate look like a parking ticket. Adrian's voice was cold. Or she can get ahead of it. Use our evidence to conduct an internal investigation. Take down the bad actors. Emerge as the reformer who saved the agency's reputation. You're bluffing. Am I? Adrian pulled up an email showing Brennan the draft message to major news outlets. One click. That's all it takes. The warehouse was silent except for the distant sound of water against dock pilings. Brennan's jaw worked, his mind clearly racing through options, calculating odds. Finally, he spoke. Even if I believed you could do this, which I don't, what makes you think I'd let you walk out of here alive? Because killing us triggers the release. Maya's voice was steady. Dead man's switch. We don't cancel it in the next 36 hours. Everything publishes automatically. You want to stop this, you need us alive. I could torture the cancellation code out of you. You could try. Adrian's smile was terrifying. But Marcus has orders to execute if we're not out of here in 20 minutes. And Marcus is very good at following orders. Brennan's eyes flicked to the shadows, searching for the sniper he knew was there. So what do you want? Money? Protection? What's your price? Our freedom. Maya stepped closer, into the circle of light. New identities, full immunity, and you leave us alone, forever. And in exchange? We give Reeves everything, but we bury the parts that would hurt innocent people. The unwitting assets like me. The people you manipulated who never knew they were part of your games. Maya's voice hardened. We make you the villain and give her a clean narrative. You go down, she gets promoted, we disappear. Everyone wins except you. Brennan laughed, but it sounded hollow. You've thought this through. We've had time to think. Adrian moved beside Maya, presenting a united front. So what's it going to be, David? Do we deal or do we detonate? For a long moment, Brennan said nothing. Then he pulled out his phone, making a call. Stand down. All units. Yes, I'm sure. Stand down now. He ended the call, looking at them with something like grudging respect. You're serious about this? About burning everything? Completely serious, Maya said. Then we have a problem, because I don't have the authority to grant immunity. That comes from Reeves, and she hates me. She won't deal just because I ask her to. Then it's a good thing we already reached out to her. Adrian's smile widened. You think we came here to negotiate with you? Brennan, you're middle management. We don't need your permission. Right on cue, headlights swept through the warehouse entrance. Black SUVs, official plates, rolling to a stop with military precision. Doors opened, and out stepped a woman in her 50s, gray-haired and sharp-eyed, flanked by agents in tactical gear. Margaret Reeves had arrived. David, Her voice cut through the warehouse like a scalpel. "You've been a busy boy." Brennan's face went ashen. "Maggie, I can explain." "Oh, I don't want your explanations. I've spent the past 6 hours reviewing the files Mr. Park's lawyer sent over. Do you have any idea how many laws you've broken, how many operations you've compromised?" Reeves moved into the light, and Maya saw the cold fury in her eyes. "You've made the agency a laughingstock, made us complicit in crimes that would make dictators blush." "I was serving American interests." "You were serving yourself." Reeves cut him off. "Using agency resources for personal profit, manipulating civilians, running unsanctioned operations. You're done, David. Done." She turned to Maya and Adrian, her expression softening marginally. "Mr. Park, Ms. Carter, thank you for bringing this to my attention. I've reviewed your proposal. Full immunity, new identities, protective custody, until we've neutralized the threats against you. In exchange, you testify about Brennan's operations and hand over all remaining evidence." "That's the deal," Adrian confirmed. "Then we have an agreement." Reeves gestured to her agents. "Brennan, you're under arrest. The charges are extensive. I hope you have a good lawyer." As agents moved to cuff Brennan, his composure finally shattered completely. "You can't do this!"
I have friends, Maggie. People who will make your life hell.
"Not anymore, you don't." Reeves's voice was final. "Your friends are too busy saving themselves. When word gets out that you're compromised, they'll run so fast they'll leave scorch marks." Brennan was dragged away, still protesting, still making threats that rang increasingly hollow. Maya watched him go and felt nothing, no satisfaction, no victory, just exhaustion. Reeves approached them, her tactical team maintaining a respectful distance. "You're brave. Or crazy. Possibly both." "Desperate," Maya corrected. "We were desperate." "Desperation makes people dangerous." Reeves studied them. "The deal stands, but you'll need to come with me now. There are still loose ends, Calabrese, Volkov, others who might make a move before we can secure them." "What about Sarah?" Adrian asked. "Ms. Chen has already agreed to cooperate. She's in protective custody, debriefing my investigators." Reeves's expression hardened slightly. "What she did to you, Ms. Carter, manipulating your life, using you without consent, that was unconscionable. She'll face consequences. But right now her information is too valuable to waste." Maya nodded, feeling oddly empty. Justice for Sarah's betrayal seemed less important than it had days ago. What mattered now was moving forward. "There's one more thing," Adrian said. "My business, the legitimate parts. I want them liquidated, assets distributed to charities, clean break. And the illegitimate parts? Already dissolved. I've been shutting down operations for the past week, cutting ties, paying off debts." His voice was firm. "I'm out. Completely." Reeves looked impressed despite herself. "Then we're truly done here. Come. My people will take you somewhere safe while we process everything." The next 72 hours were a blur of debriefings and statements, of lawyers and agents and documents to sign. Maya told her story repeatedly, how she'd been identified, manipulated, positioned as an unwitting asset, how Adrian had discovered the truth and, in his own twisted way, tried to save her. She didn't sugarcoat what he'd done. The reproductive coercion, the violation of her autonomy. But she also made clear that she was choosing to stay with him now, freely, of her own will. "Are you sure?" The interviewer, a kind-faced woman from Victim Services, asked gently. "You've been through trauma. What feels like choice now might be—" "I know about Stockholm Syndrome," Maya interrupted. "I have a psychology degree. I've considered that possibility. And maybe there's truth to it. But I'm also pregnant, and I want my child to have a father, and I want to see if something real can grow from something terrible. That's my choice." The woman had nodded, making notes, and moved on to other questions. Adrian's debriefings were longer, more complex. Years of operations to unwind, connections to sever, threats to neutralize. But he cooperated fully, holding nothing back, burning every bridge that might lead back to his old life. On the fourth day, Reeves summoned them to a secure facility outside Washington. She sat across from them in a windowless room, manila folders stacked neatly between them. "It's done," she said simply. "Brennan's in custody, facing federal charges that will put him away for life. Calabrese and Volkov have been arrested by their respective authorities. Turns out when you give law enforcement detailed evidence of criminal activities, they're quite enthusiastic. The network is dismantled. And us? Maya asked. Reeves pushed the folders across the table. Your new identities. Birth certificates, social security cards, driver's licenses, complete histories. You're Michael and Emma Harrison now, originally from Portland, recently relocated to a small coastal town in Northern California. Maya opened the folder, staring at the name that was supposed to be hers now. Emma Harrison. It felt foreign, like wearing someone else's clothes. The house is already purchased under your names, bank accounts established with enough money to live comfortably for years. Medical records created, including prenatal care for your pregnancy. Reeves's voice was all business. You'll have a handler checking in monthly for the first year, then quarterly after that, but otherwise, you're free to build whatever life you want. Just like that? Adrian, Michael said, we walk away and it's over? Not quite that simple. You'll be in the system. If you commit crimes, if you draw attention to yourselves, the immunity disappears. And there are still people out there who might hold grudges. We've done our best to eliminate the threats, but the world is messy. Reeves leaned forward. My advice? Stay quiet. Stay hidden. Build that life you talked about, and don't look back. Maya and Adrian, Emma and Michael, exchanged glances. Then, together, they nodded. We understand, Maya said. Good. Reeves stood. Then this is where we part ways. A car will take you to the airport. From there, you're on your own. Good luck, Emma and Michael Harrison. I hope you find what you're looking for. The flight to San Francisco felt surreal, like traveling through a dream. Maya, she had to start thinking of herself as Emma, stared out the window at clouds and sky, her hand resting on her stomach where the baby was growing. 5 months now, beginning to show. A life that would be born into safety if they were very careful. Beside her, Adrian, Michael, was quiet, his own thoughts clearly far away. They hadn't talked much about the future beyond survival, hadn't discussed what their relationship would look like without the constant threat of death, whether love could exist between them without danger as its foundation. What are you thinking? Maya asked softly. That I don't know how to be a normal person. He looked at her, vulnerability naked in his eyes. I've spent 15 years building an empire, being someone people feared, and now, he gestured at his new identity, now I'm supposed to be Michael Harrison, generic American, living a quiet life. I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can either. Maya's admission surprised her. I was supposed to be this person before. Normal job, normal life. But that was all fake. I've never actually been normal. So what do? We figure it out, together. She laced her fingers through his. We fuck up. We struggle. We fight about stupid things like what color to paint the kitchen. We go to prenatal appointments and argue about baby names. We try to be people instead of survivors. What if I'm not good at it? Then you practice. Until you are. Maya squeezed his hand. I'm not forgiving you yet, Adrian. Michael. I might never completely forgive you, but I am choosing you. Choosing this. Choosing to see if we can build something real. His eyes glistened. That's more than I deserve. Probably, but it's what I'm offering anyway. The plane descended through clouds, and below them, California spread out in golden hills and blue ocean. Their new home, their new life, their new chance. The town was called Crescent Bay, population 8,000, perched on dramatic cliffs overlooking the Pacific. The house Reeves had arranged was modest, nothing like the penthouses and estates of their old life. A 3-bedroom craftsman with a garden and a view of the water. Maya stood in the empty living room, listening to the silence. No security system alerts, no surveillance feeds, no weapons hidden in every room, just space, possibility. The terrifying freedom of normal life. It's perfect, she said. Adrian, she was trying so hard to think of him as Michael, came up behind her, his arms wrapping around her waist, his hands resting on her growing belly. It's small. It's enough. Maya leaned back against him. We don't need perfect. We need real. Over the following weeks, they settled into something resembling routine. Adrian worked with a local contractor, learning construction, getting his hands dirty in a way that was honest and clean. Maya found work at the community college, teaching psychology courses, using her real expertise to help students understand the complexities of human behavior. They went to prenatal appointments together, marveling at ultrasound images of their daughter. They'd learned the sex at 20 weeks, both of them crying in the examination room. They painted the nursery a soft yellow. They argued about names, laughing when they realized they'd both suggested variations of their own mother's names. They went to therapy, separately and together, working through the trauma of everything they'd survived. Maya talked about this violation, the betrayal, the complicated grief of losing a life that had never been real. Adrian talked about control, obsession, the patterns he'd learned from a violent father he'd never mentioned before. It was messy. It was hard. Some days Maya looked at him and felt only rage for what he'd done. Some days Adrian looked at her and she could see the fear that she'd leave, that this fragile peace couldn't last. But they kept trying. 6 months after arriving in Crescent Bay, Maya woke to Adrian. Michael, she was getting better at that, making breakfast. The smell of coffee and something burning drew her to the kitchen, where she found him staring forlornly at charred pancakes. "I think I killed them," he said solemnly. Maya laughed, the sound surprising her with its genuine joy. "You definitely killed them. Those pancakes are deceased. I was trying to do something nice." Normal people make breakfast for their pregnant partners, right? Normal people also use lower heat. She moved to the stove, salvaging what she could, but the thought counts. They ate the slightly burnt pancakes together, talking about ordinary things, the weather, the garden they were planning, the baby furniture they needed to buy. Mundane, domestic, beautiful in its simplicity. "I love you," Adrian said suddenly. Maya looked up, surprised. They'd been careful with those words, both knowing how loaded they were. "You don't have to say it back," he continued quickly. I needed to say it. Not as a manipulation. Not as leverage. Just as truth. I love you, Emma. I love the life we're building. I love who I'm becoming with you." Emma. Her new name. Spoken with such tenderness, it almost felt real. Maya set down her fork, considering. Did she love him? The question was more complex than it should be. She loved moments. His patience when she woke from nightmares. His excitement at feeling their daughter kick. The way he'd spent 3 hours assembling a crib because he wanted it perfect. She loved that he was trying, truly trying to be better. But did she love him, the man who'd violated her autonomy in the worst possible way? "I'm not there yet," she said honestly. "But I'm getting closer. Some days I look at you and I think maybe this could work. Maybe love can grow from broken beginnings." That's enough. His hand found hers across the table. That's more than enough. The baby came in October during a storm that rattled the windows and made the house feel like a ship at sea. Labor was long and brutal, 18 hours of pain that made Maya scream and curse and grab Adrian's hand so hard she thought she might break bones. But when they placed her daughter in her arms, small and perfect and screaming with outrage at the world, Maya felt something shift in her chest, a fierce protective love that dwarfed everything else. "She's perfect," Adrian whispered, tears streaming down his face. "She's angry," Maya corrected, but she was smiling. "Look at that scowl. She's furious about being born." They named her Hope, Maya's choice, because she represented the possibility of something good emerging from darkness. Adrian had agreed immediately, understanding the symbolism. The first weeks with Hope were chaotic. Neither of them knew what they were doing, stumbling through diaper changes and feeding schedules and sleepless nights. But they learned together, supporting each other through the exhaustion and confusion. Maya watched Adrian with their daughter and saw a gentleness she'd never witnessed before. He held Hope like she was made of glass, sang to her in Korean, spent hours just staring at her sleeping face with wonder. "I can't believe we made her," he said one night, rocking Hope while Maya tried to rest. "Can't believe something this perfect came from us." "We're not that broken," Maya said softly. "Aren't we?" "No." Maya sat up, moving to join them. "We were broken, past tense, but we're healing." "Look at her, Michael. She's proof that broken things can create something whole." He looked at her then, really looked at her, and Maya saw hope in his eyes. Do you think we'll make it long term?" "I don't know." The honesty came easier now. I think some days will be harder than others. I think there will be times I remember what you did, and I'll hate you all over again. But I also think," she touched his face, feeling the stubble, the warmth of him. "I also think I'm choosing to stay. Every day. That has to count for something. It counts for everything." They sat together in the nursery, their daughter sleeping between them, and Maya felt something she'd never expected: peace. Time passed. Hope grew from infant to toddler, all chubby cheeks and determination, learning to walk and talk and assert her will with impressive force. Maya went back to teaching, finding fulfillment in helping students understand themselves. Adrian, Michael, started his own small construction business, building houses with his hands instead of empires with violence. They made friends in Crescent Bay, normal people who knew nothing of their past, invited neighbors over for barbecues, joined the PTA, lived so deeply in their cover that it stopped feeling like a cover. Marcus visited once, 2 years after they'd settled in Crescent Bay. He looked older, tired, but alive. They sat on the porch while Hope played in the yard, catching up on lives lived in different worlds. "You look happy," Marcus observed. "I am. Mostly." Maya smiled. "It's strange. I spent so long being angry about what Adrian did. And I'm still angry sometimes, but I'm grateful. For Hope. For this life. For the chance to be someone real. That's growth." Marcus sipped his beer. "Adrian looks different too. Lighter." "He is. We both are." Maya watched her daughter chase butterflies, laughing with pure joy. "We're not pretending anymore. This isn't a cover. This is just who we are now." Marcus nodded, understanding. "You made it out. Not many people do." "We got lucky, and we had help." Maya looked at him. "Thank you for everything you did. Just doing my job." "It was more than that. You could have walked away so many times, but you stayed. You kept us alive long enough to find this." She gestured at the house, the life they'd built. "That's friendship, real friendship." Marcus's gruff expression softened. "Yeah, I guess it is." He left the next morning, disappearing back into whatever life he was living now. But his visit had confirmed something Maya already knew. They were safe, really safe. The past was truly behind them. That night, after Hope was asleep, Maya and Adrian sat on the porch, watching the sunset paint the ocean in shades of gold and crimson. They'd been married for 6 months now, a quiet ceremony at the courthouse, just the two of them, and Hope, making legal what had been built from necessity. "Do you ever miss it?" Maya asked. "The power, the control. Being someone who mattered in that world." Adrian considered the question carefully. "Sometimes. When I'm building cabinets or fixing drywall, sometimes I remember what it felt like to move millions with a phone call, to have people fear and respect me." He paused. "But then I come home. Hope runs to me screaming, 'Daddy,' and you're cooking dinner, and I realize this is power, real power. Having people love you instead of fear you. That's very evolved of you. I have a good therapist," he smiled, "and a patient wife." "Not always patient." Maya's hand found his. "I still get angry sometimes. Still wake up from nightmares about what you did." "I know. But I also..." She turned to face him. "I also know I love you." Present tense. Not might love. Not working toward love. "I love you, Michael Harrison. I love who you are now. Who we're becoming together." Adrian's breath caught. It was the first time she'd said it without qualifications or caveats. Just simple truth. "Emma? Maya?" He struggled with the names, with the enormity of the moment. "I don't deserve..." "No, you probably don't." Her smile was gentle. "But I'm giving it to you anyway. Not because you've earned it, because I choose to." He pulled her close, and they sat in the gathering darkness, listening to waves and crickets and the sound of their daughter breathing through the baby monitor. A family. Imperfect and complicated and real. Years passed. Hope started school, making friends easily, her personality a beautiful mix of Maya's intelligence and Adrian's determination. They had another child, a son they named James, who was quieter than his sister but just as fierce. The house filled with noise and laughter and the chaos of normal family life. Maya advanced in her career, eventually becoming department chair at the college. Adrian's business grew steadily, earning a reputation for quality work and fair dealing. They bought a dog, planted a garden, argued about money and parenting and whether to remodel the kitchen. They were boring, they were happy, they were free. On Hope's 10th birthday, Maya stood in the backyard watching her daughter blow out candles, surrounded by friends and cake and streamers. Adrian stood beside her, James on his shoulders, and Maya felt the weight of everything that had led to this moment. The violation, the violence, the impossible choices, the long road from betrayal to something like forgiveness. All of it had brought them here, to this sunny afternoon in Northern California, to a life neither of them could have imagined.
What are you thinking about? Adrian murmured. How far we've come. How different this is from where we started.
Maya leaned against him.
Do you think about it? About who we were?
Sometimes. Late at night, when I can't sleep, I think about the man I was, the things I did, and I wonder if this is real or if I'm fooling myself. He looked at her. Am I? Fooling myself that I've changed? No. Maya's voice was certain. People can change. We're proof of that. You're not the man who sabotaged my birth control. I'm not the woman who let herself be blind to the signs. We've both grown. Together. Together, she agreed. Hope ran over, sticky with cake, demanding they both come see what her friends had given her. They followed her into the chaos of the party, into the beautiful, ordinary mess of their life, and Maya realized with startling clarity that she'd forgiven him. Not because he deserved it, not because enough time had passed to erase the violation, but because holding on to anger was exhausting, and she'd chosen peace instead. Chosen to build rather than destroy. Chosen to love the man he'd become instead of hating the man he'd been. That night, after the party ended and the children were asleep, Maya and Adrian sat on their porch, a ritual they'd maintained over the years. The ocean stretched dark and endless before them, the same ocean that had witnessed their escape, their transformation, their slow healing. I forgive you, Maya said quietly. Adrian went very still. What? For what you did. For the pills, the violation, all of it. She turned to face him. I forgive you. Not because you've asked for it or because enough time has passed, but because I'm tired of carrying it. I want to let it go. Tears streaked down Adrian's face. Maya, I'm not saying it was okay. It wasn't. It was unforgivable, and part of me will always carry that scar. Her voice was steady. But I'm also saying I choose to release it. Choose to live in the present instead of the past. Choose you, fully, without reservations. He pulled her close, his body shaking with silent sobs. Maya held him, this man who destroyed her old life and helped her build a new one, and felt the last chains of resentment fall away. They weren't a perfect love story. They were messy and complicated and born from violation. But they were real. And in the end, Maya thought, maybe that was better than perfect. The years continued to unfold. Hope went to college, brilliant and determined, choosing to study law because she wanted to help people. James became an artist, quiet and thoughtful, seeing the world in colors his parents couldn't imagine. Maya and Adrian grew old together, their hair graying, their bodies softening, their love deepening into something unshakable. They never told their children the full truth, gave them edited versions, met under complicated circumstances, had to rebuild their lives, chose each other every day. It was true enough. The rest was theirs to carry. On their 25th wedding anniversary, Adrian took Maya back to the beach where they'd escaped all those years ago. The safe house was long gone, replaced by luxury condos, but the ocean remained unchanged. Do you regret it? He asked as they walked along the sand. Any of it? Maya considered the question seriously. Did she regret the violation? Yes. Did she regret the years of running and fear? Yes. But did she regret Hope and James? The life they'd built? The love they'd forged from impossible circumstances? I regret how we started, she said finally. But I don't regret where we ended up. And maybe that has to be enough. It's more than enough. Adrian took her hand, the gesture still sending warmth through her after all these years. It's everything. They stood at the water's edge, watching waves crash and retreat, eternal and indifferent to human drama. And Maya Carter, Emma Harrison, felt at peace. Not because the past was erased, but because she'd chosen to build something beautiful despite it. She'd been used, violated, manipulated. She'd been broken and reforged. She'd made impossible choices and lived with their consequences. She'd learned that love could grow in the darkest soil, that forgiveness wasn't about forgetting, but about releasing. And through it all, she'd survived. More than survived, she'd lived, really lived. As the sun set over the Pacific, painting the sky in shades of hope and possibility, Maya leaned against the man who'd once been her captor and was now simply her partner. They'd earned this peace, earned this love, earned the right to be happy despite everything. And that, Maya thought, was the real victory. Not escape, not revenge, but the simple, hard-won ability to stand on a beach with the person you'd chosen and feel genuinely, completely free. The trap had been set 26 years ago, but Maya Carter had broken free. Not by running, but by transforming the trap into a foundation, by choosing, over and over, to build instead of destroy. She'd chosen the monster, and in choosing him, had helped him become a man. It wasn't redemption, it was something better. It was real, and it was theirs.